Chapter 1044. Deep in the Himalayas, inside a towering snow-capped mountain, a huge space had been excavated. It had even been modified by a secret technique, causing a karst cave to appear in the underground space. Rivers of lava flowed through the karst cave, causing the temperature here to be extremely high. It was like the inside of a huge furnace. Goo goo, a gigantic magical beast suddenly rose from the lava river that was emitting high temperature. This magical beast's entire body was scarlet red, like a toad that had been magnified thousands of times. However, there were 4 tentacles that were dozens of meters long on its cheeks. They constantly whipped the lava river, causing the liquid lava to splatter. There are many mo. The gigantic magical beast's eyes were very large, like giant millstones. They were filled with a cruel and murderous expression. As its voice rang out, the super magical beast that was as tall as a 2-story building instantly shot over from outside. In the blink of an eye, it had already appeared in front of the toad magical beast. Great Blood Beast King, you have finally woken up from your slumber. According to your will, our magical beast army's elites probed the humans of this world time and time again, and discovered that there were powerful people among them. However, I have the confidence to destroy those humans and occupy this planet for you. The toad-shaped blood beast monarch coughed out a mouthful of magma and shook his head. The heavenly Tao laws in this world are very powerful. Our strength is suppressed now, so we can only use 1,000th of our power. Therefore, he had to find out if there were immortals or demon kings in this world. If there is, we will immediately leave this place and find another place to stay. If not, then let's go all out and kill. The super magical beast Ancient Devil Duo 2 nodded heavily. Without any hesitation, it whistled and left this space. In just half a day, nearly 100,000 magical beasts had gathered in the depths of the Himalayas. The magical beasts all over the mountains and plains let out deafening roars, cheering for their king to wake up from his slumber. Ugly Town. Tan Xiao was cultivating cross-legged in the military tent when he suddenly heard the roars of countless magical beasts. His expression immediately changed. In that instant, he could determine that the number of roaring magical beasts was definitely not as simple as 10 or 20,000. There were definitely more than 50,000, or even more. Xiao! 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 Numerous lightning-fast figures quickly appeared at the blockade line. All the human cultivators looked toward the Himalayas in the north. Even though they could not see any trace of the magical beasts, they could still hear the roars that caused the ground to tremble. Tan Xiao. Duanmu Lin appeared by Tan Xiao's side. His eyes were filled with deep worry, and he wanted to say something but hesitated. Tan Xiao forced a smile and said, "Know the enemy and know yourself, and you will be victorious in every battle." Looks like this saying is true. We are not clear about the number of magical beasts and their overall strength. I'm afraid it won't be easy to win the next battle. Senior Duanmu, have all the cultivation forces that you invited arrived? Duanmu Lin shook his head and said, there are 2 cultivation forces that haven't arrived yet, but the rest have. According to the statistics of our Special Abilities Bureau, the number of cultivators who have arrived here has already exceeded 2,000. It's just that we seem to have a lot of people, but the number of demonic beasts is even higher. Moreover, the weakest of those demonic beasts is comparable to Foundation Establishment experts, whereas less than half of the cultivators here have reached the Foundation Establishment stage. Tan Xiao secretly sighed inwardly. What Duanmu Lin said was the truth. There were only a few people who practiced martial arts in this peaceful and prosperous era. Those who wanted to achieve something and reach the Foundation Establishment stage were even fewer. We can only rely on the arrays for now, said Tan Xiao helplessly. You said you have a trump card, Tan Xiao. What exactly is it? Asked Duanmu Lin. Tell me now so that I can feel at ease. Tan Xiao glanced at the direction of 9 Dragons Island and lightly said, my trump card may be coming soon. Half an hour later. Just as Tan Xiao was sitting cross-legged in cultivation, 4 particularly powerful auras came from the direction of Ugly Town. In just a few breaths, 3 men and 1 woman appeared at the blockade line. Interesting. I didn't expect that so many little kids would come here. A young man in a white robe who looked like a scholar spoke casually, but his voice was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. An old man with a kind face and a walking stick said with a smile, "The people of Huaxia are good in this aspect. Every time they encounter a crisis, they always come forward to help the country resolve it." When was the last time we went out of the mountain? More than 60 years ago. Or more than 70 years ago. More than 70 years ago, before the War of Resistance. A tall and sturdy middle-aged man with a red face and an imposing aura exuding from his entire body said with a clear voice while holding a magic staff in his hand. A middle-aged Taoist nun in a Taoist robe with her hair combed into a bun smiled and lightly said, "Let's not talk about the past anymore. Benefactors, this is your chance if you've been holding back for too long. It's a pity that Tao Master Poison's heart isn't in the right place and he hasn't taken that step, else the 5 of us would have gathered together." Tao Master Poison. Tan Xiu, who was sitting cross-legged tens of meters away from the 4 people, had a slightly moved expression. Taoist Zixuan floated out of the crowd and quickly appeared in front of the middle-aged Taoist nun. She respectfully saluted and said, "Zixuan pays respect to ancestor. Why did you come out of seclusion?" "I received a notice from these 3 old geezers that a lot of demonic beasts have appeared in the Himalayas, so I came out to have a look," said the middle-aged Taoist nun with a smile. "To be honest, I've never seen demonic beasts before. I've only read about them in historical records. Little Zixuan, tell me about those demonic beasts. Are they really that powerful?" "Ancestor, I don't know as much as others when it comes to demonic beasts," said Taoist Zixuan. "How about I call Taoist Tang over? He may be able to answer a lot of your questions." The middle-aged Taoist nun nodded and said, "Call him over." Whoosh! Tan Xiu's figure flickered lightning fast and instantly appeared in front of them. He looked at the 4 people with a serious expression and smilingly said, "Tang Xiu greets the 4 seniors. I was worried that we wouldn't be able to handle the demonic beasts in the mountain range since there are too many of them. But now that 4 nascent soul stage seniors are here, we can finally relax a lot." "You're Tan Xiu?" asked the middle-aged Taoist nun with a surprised expression. "That's right," answered Tan Xiu with a smile. The middle-aged Taoist nun shifted to Taoist Zixuan and asked, "I heard about your deal. How was it? What was the result?" "Ancestor, the cultivation resources our sect brought weren't that much," said Taoist Zixuan hurriedly. "But Taoist Tang still fulfilled his promise and gave us what he promised." The middle-aged Taoist nun's expression slightly changed. She shot a deep look at Tan Xiu and praised, "You're a very good junior. My whole unitary sect owes you a favor. Don't worry, I'll send someone to collect some more cultivation resources and send them to you later. I've never been a person who likes to fuss about things." Tan Xiu lightly smiled and said, "Since Senior wants to send me some cultivation resources, then I'll also send some gifts to your whole unitary sect." The burly middle-aged man with a flushed face couldn't help but roll his eyes and snorted. "Don't mention such trivial matters between you two. Tan Xiu, right? Tell us about the situation of the demonic beasts. Can you let this Sha Tong go on a killing spree? According to my judgment, there are at least tens of thousands of demonic beasts in the depths of the mountain range." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "The weakest among them is at the early stage of foundation establishment, but I'm not sure about the strongest ones. However, I killed a lot of demonic beasts, so they once launched an attack on me. 10 golden core bird-type demonic beasts acted as a cover and one that was as strong as a nascent soul stage demonic beast ambushed me. Fortunately, my reaction was fast and my luck was good enough to save my life. 10 golden core demonic beasts. And one that was as strong as a nascent soul stage demonic beast." The 4 of them all wore a solemn expression after hearing it. Although they were all nascent soul stage powerhouses, they didn't know what kind of magical abilities these demonic beasts had. If they were very strong, they would have to spend some effort to kill them. If my guess is correct, There are demonic beasts in this mountain range whose strength is comparable to a soul formation stage expert, said Tan Xiu. However, it didn't attack us, so I can't judge its specific strength. What? The four of them were shocked by Tan Xiu's words. A demonic beast that could fight a soul formation stage expert? If there really was such a powerful demonic beast, wouldn't the four of them have a 50-50 chance of winning even if they joined forces? The old man asked with a solemn expression, you think that demonic beast can fight a soul formation stage expert? I want to know what stage you are at now. How do you judge the strength of a nascent soul stage expert? How do you judge the strength of a soul formation stage expert? Because my strength is not weaker than you, seniors, said Tan Xiu calmly. Preposterous and arrogant. The burly man rolled his eyes and snappily said, you're so young. If I'm not mistaken, you're only in your early 20s at most, right? You said your strength is not weaker than ours? That's simply a joke. I don't know if it's a joke or not, said Tan Xiu lightly. But I'm very clear about the person you mentioned before, and I'm very clear about his strength. The burly man didn't want to talk to Tan Xiu anymore, but after hearing his words, he casually asked, the person we mentioned? Who is it? Dao Master Poison, replied Tan Xiu lightly. The burly man's expression instantly turned cold. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he asked in a deep voice, do you know Dao Master Poison? That's right. Not only do I know him, but I also fought him. Tan Xiu nodded. Fuck off. The burly man felt that Tan Xiu's words were getting more and more outrageous, so he directly waved his hand to tell him to scram. Chapter 1045. In the burly man's view, even if Dao Master Poison was scheming and couldn't break through to the nascent soul stage, he was still a golden core stage expert. Yet this brat bragged without batting an eyelid, which was really disgusting. Guanlu. The middle-aged Taoist nun furrowed her brows and shouted with dissatisfaction. The burly man sneered and said, everyone, let's not listen to this brat's nonsense. Let's go straight into the depths of the mountain range. Even if the other party has a demonic beast that can fight against a spirit formation stage expert, we can still kill it with the strength of the four of us. The white-robed scholarly youth nodded in agreement and said, I think Guanlu is right. Any schemes and tricks are just fleeting clouds in the face of absolute strength. Let's not waste our time here since we're here to kill demonic beasts. We'll just let them deal with the remaining small demonic beasts after we get rid of those powerful ones. I agree. The kind-looking old man chuckled and said. Only the middle-aged Taoist nun slightly furrowed her brows and looked hesitant. She knew more about Tan Xiu, so she was willing to believe Tan Xiu's words. However, her three old friends were going to enter the mountain range to hunt the most powerful demonic beasts, so she had no choice but to agree. She felt that even if the four of them joined forces, they wouldn't be able to kill the most powerful demonic beasts in the mountain range. But if they couldn't beat it, they should have no problem escaping. Ancestor. Taoist Zixuan hurriedly called out. The middle-aged Taoist nun waved her hand and smilingly said, you don't need to persuade me, little Zixuan. Since they want to enter the mountain range to hunt the most powerful demonic beasts, I naturally can't just ignore them. If we follow them, we might be able to resolve the crisis in front of us faster. Taoist Zixuan immediately said helplessly, Ancestor, I won't persuade you anymore since you've been admiring them for a long time. But I have something for you. Please keep it. After saying that, she handed the storage bracelet to the middle-aged Taoist nun. Inside the storage bracelet was not only the cultivation manual Tan Xiu gave her, but also the immortal sword. The middle-aged Taoist nun took the storage bracelet and probed it with her consciousness. She immediately discovered the divine sword. Her heart trembled as she sensed the terrifying aura coming from the celestial sword. Joy surged through her like a tide, making her even more confident about entering the mountain range to hunt demonic beasts. Let's go. The red-faced orchestra soared into the sky and flew toward the depths of the mountain range. In just a few seconds, the four nascent soul stage powerhouses who had just arrived went straight into the depths of the Himalayas. Tan Xiu quickly nodded at Duan Mulin, gave Hao Lei and the others a few instructions, and quietly followed them. Right now, every human expert was a comrade, and the 4 original infant stage experts were the strongest existences of the human race. If they died in the Himalayas because of their arrogance, Tan Xiu was not willing to accept this fact. Deep in the Himalayas, demonic beasts covered the snow-white ground, and the whistling cold wind added a bit of terrifying aura to the nearly 100,000 demonic beasts. As 2 super demonic beasts with bodies as high as 2 stories slowly walked out of a wide cave, nearly 100,000 demonic beasts roared again. Shut up! A shadow flashed, and Mo Gu Duo Meng appeared in front of the 2 tall demonic beasts. Its blood-red eyes swept down, and it shouted violently. In an instant, the scene quieted down, and all the demonic beasts looked at Mo Gu Duo Meng with a bit of fear, waiting for its order. Mo Gu Duo Meng raised its head and roared a few times, and then shouted in the language of demonic beasts, "The great blood beast king has awakened, and we are about to occupy this planet. After tens of thousands of years of wandering, we are trapped on this damned little planet, trapped in this damned iceberg. I am not willing, and the great blood beast king is not willing. So kill the humans on this planet, occupy this planet, and let us use this planet as a springboard to return to the demon realm, kill our enemies, and get our territory. Kill. Kill, kill, kill. Kill, kill, kill." Nearly 100,000 demonic beasts roared and roared. Under the leadership of the 2 10-meter-tall demonic beasts behind Mo Gu Duo Meng, they roared and rushed towards the south. In midair, the 4 nascent soul stage powerhouses stopped. They stood in the air, dumbfounded as they looked at the overwhelming flying demonic beasts in front of them. They looked at the demonic beasts on the ground, which were more imposing than tens of thousands of galloping horses. Even though they thought of themselves as powerful, they still couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Humans, die. 2 10-meter-tall demonic beasts, in mid-air above the flying island, did not hesitate to launch a fierce attack against the 4 nascent soul stage powerhouses. Mo Gu Duo Meng was not in a hurry to make a move. He quietly watched the 4 humans, but his heart was surging with killing intent. The fact that humans dared to enter the depths of the Himalayas made him even angrier. Boom, 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 kill. The 2 10-meter-tall demonic beasts, after fighting with the 4 nascent soul stage powerhouses, fell into a disadvantageous position in just a few seconds. Seeing this, Mo Gu Duo Meng no longer hesitated. He roared and rushed towards the battle in midair. His speed was faster than the 2 demonic beasts of similar size. As a black vortex appeared in the sky, a black chain instantly shot out from the black vortex. Boom, boom, the white-robed youth was caught off guard and was bombarded in the chest by a black chain. As blood spurted out, his body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Although the other 3 people narrowly avoided the chains and struggled to resist the black suction, they had no way to rescue the white-robed youth. Too weak to stand up to the wind. Mo Gu Duo Meng laughed wildly and joined forces with the other 2 demonic beasts. Suddenly, the 4 nascent soul stage powerhouses were in danger. Immortal slaying chains, kill for me. A series of black chains, coupled with the black vortex, was Mo Gu Duo Meng's magical power. On top of that, his strength was comparable to that of a soul formation stage cultivator, so he didn't give the white-robed youth any chance to escape. Dozens of black chains struck his body, and immediately afterward, a black chain wrapped around the white-robed youth's body, pulling him into a black vortex. Suddenly, a black figure shot out from not far away and a divine sword burst out with 100-meter-long sword light. It fiercely slashed at the black chains that were flying everywhere. Also, a powerful airflow formed a tornado that bombarded the black vortex that was sucking the white-robed youth in. Boom, one by one, the black chains broke. The black vortex was disturbed by the tornado and quickly dissipated without a trace. The white-robed youth's face was pale, but he fled in a sorry state. However, another black chain bombarded his back. Break for me. Tan Xiu's aura expanded and the divine sword burst out a dazzling light. After using the airflow to wrap around the white-robed youth's body, Tan Xiu suddenly pulled and turned around to run. What are you waiting for? Run! At this moment, the middle-aged nun, the kind-looking elder, and the red-faced Guan Yu were shocked by the sudden crisis. Only then did they realize that they were no match for the three demonic beasts. They all turned around and chased after Tan Xiu's figure, quickly running out of the mountain range. Death Hammer. Grim Reaper Scythe. The other two late-stage nascent soul demonic beasts also used their magical powers. Even though the middle-aged nun, the elder, and the red-faced Guan Yu ran very fast, the giant hammers and black machetes still injured them. Soon, the five of them quickly ran to the blockade. Tan Xiu threw the almost unconscious white-robed youth to Mo and shouted, "Get ready for battle. There are many demonic beasts, at least 80 to 90,000. Remember my instructions and immediately activate the array." Immediately, 14 figures quickly rushed out and activated the array, standing in the eye of the array. Guan Yu appeared next to the white-robed youth in a flash. His face was extremely ugly and there was even a hint of shame in his eyes. At this moment, he had to admit that he was too arrogant and suggested to attack the depths of the mountain range. The demonic beast that was comparable to a soul formation stage cultivator was simply too powerful. There were also two demonic beasts that were comparable to nascent soul stage cultivators. Just the combination of these three demonic beasts was not something that four nascent soul stage cultivators could compare to. Now is not the time to blame yourself. Take out your weapon and get ready to fight the demonic beasts. Today, it's a battle to the death. Either we will be exterminated, or the demonic beasts will be exterminated by us. Tang Xiu appeared beside Guan Yu and shouted in a heavy tone. Guan Yu looked up and saw Tan Xiu's solemn expression. His heart was filled with grief and indignation. He looked down on Tan Xiu before and didn't even bother to pay attention to Tan Xiu. He thought that a young guy dared to boast in front of them. But after the crisis just now, he realized that Tan Xiu was really not weak. Whether it was his speed or his explosive killing moves, they were all superior to him. I'm sorry about what happened before, Daoist Tang. Inwardly, Guan Yu was very grateful to Tang Xiu. If it wasn't for Tang Xiu following them and lending a helping hand at the critical moment, the white-clothed youth's companions would have died in the hands of those demonic beasts. You don't need to apologize to me. Tan Xiu shook his head. Kill more demonic beasts if you feel guilty. Don't hide it anymore. I have a bad hunch that there will be more dangerous things coming up. Guan Yu took a deep breath and soared into the air. Just as he was about to rush into the invisible array, Tan Xiu immediately stopped him. Don't rush to attack yet. I'll arrange an array here. Wait for us to use the array to kill as many demonic beasts as possible before you fight them, shouted Tan Xiu in a deep voice. An array? Using an array to kill demonic beasts? Guan Yu didn't know anything about arrays, but he knew the power of an array. The way he looked at Tan Xiu was completely different from before. Kill! The overwhelming number of demonic beasts quickly rushed into the array in front of the blockade line. In an instant, 14 cultivators, who were not very strong but had learned how to control the array from Tan Xiu, began to control the array to kill the demonic beasts that broke in. Chapter 1046. The feng shui array chain was like a meat grinder, killing the demonic beasts that kept rushing into it. Tan Xiu was like a ghost, wandering in and out of the array, silently reaping the lives of the demonic beasts. For the demonic beasts and other cultivators, the array was a land of death. But for Tan Xiu, it was like his own backyard. Roar, hiss, countless demonic beasts roared and attacked the array frantically, causing the 14 arrays to shake. After half an hour of killing, Tan Xiu rushed out of one of the arrays in a disheveled state. His clothes were soaked in blood, as if he had just been fished out of a pool of blood. Tan Xiu. Silhouettes shot over from the distance like lightning. All of them had worried looks on their faces, as well as a deep sense of reverence. Tan Xiu wiped the blood off his face and asked hurriedly, "Where are those people, Senior Duanmu?" Duanmu Lin took a deep breath, grabbed the communication device in his hand, pressed the green button, and shouted, "Kill camp warriors, enter the array." Immediately, one after another, silhouettes shot over from afar and rushed into the feng shui formation in the blink of an eye. A total of 140 cultivators had been sent to Tanxiu by Duanmu Lin through various means a week ago to learn how to set up arrays from Tanxiu. They didn't have a thorough understanding of the array, but they could memorize the routes and directions inside the array and kill the demonic beasts after they entered the array. The weakest among them was at the late stage of foundation establishment, while the strongest were at the golden core stage. They were in groups of 10. After entering the array, they took advantage of the array's attack to slaughter the demonic beasts inside like pouring oil on a fire. They could advance or retreat, attack or defend. The massacre of 140 people was definitely a carefree and unrestrained feeling. However, the number of demonic beasts that rushed into the array was too many. The array was filled with demonic beasts. "We can't hold it anymore. Retreat." One of the cultivators controlling the formation suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and roared. In less than 10 seconds, the 6 cultivators who were still alive in the feng shui formation rushed out, their bodies riddled with scars. Before they could catch their breath, the feng shui formation was broken. Immediately after, the other feng shui formations were also broken one after another. One by one, the cultivators escaped with injuries and rushed through the blockade line with some despair. Their injuries were very serious, and they needed to hurry up and heal. Otherwise, if they continued to participate in the battle, they would probably die. At this moment, Tanxiu had already changed his clothes. He was frantically absorbing the mana within the monster core to replenish what he had just consumed. Seeing that the 14 formations had been broken, a cold light burst out of his eyes. As his figure soared into the sky, his divine sword instantly swept out, killing a group of bird-type demonic beasts. Demons and immortals slaughtering array. The deafening sound waves instantly spread to the horizon. Within the blockade line of dozens of kilometers, a thick blood mist permeated. With the blood of demonic beasts and humans as a guide, it formed a boundless sea of blood, killing all the demonic beasts that deserved to be killed. The demons and immortals slaying formation covered a very wide area. At this moment, at least tens of thousands of demonic beasts were enveloped in it. Rumble, the demonic beasts in the formation wailed in unison as if a thunderstorm had come from beyond the 9th heaven. That sound seemed to be able to destroy souls and control minds. It was like a demonic sound with extremely strong offensive power. At the same time, bolts of lightning fell like a storm. Each lightning bolt was as thick as an adult's arm. Even a demonic beast at the golden core stage would be seriously injured if it was struck by the lightning. As for a demonic beast at the foundation establishment stage, it would only be a dead end if it was struck. Ding, ding, dong, suddenly, a pleasant sound came from outside the demons and immortals slaying formation. Almost in an instant, the tens of thousands of demonic beasts in the formation suddenly felt that the world in front of them had changed. They seemed to see the place where they were born, their hometown, as if they could smell the soil of the demon realm and hear the unique howling of the demon realm. Puff, 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 lightning fell like rain. One by one, the demonic beasts died tragically in the lightning, but they fell slowly with a smile on their faces. Corpses were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. In just half a minute, thousands of demonic beasts died in the lightning attack. Roar, a 2-story nascent soul stage demonic beast rushed out of the demons and immortals slaying formation and sensed that something was wrong. With an angry roar, countless black scimitars appeared out of thin air and slashed at the descending lightning bolts. For a moment, the lightning bolts were blocked, and the killing speed of the demonic beasts slowed down. Ding, 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 the sound of the zither that came from outside the demons and immortals slaying formation suddenly changed its tone. It sounded like a storm or the collision of iron horses and gold spears. All of a sudden, the smiles on the faces of all the demonic beasts at the foundation establishment stage in the demons and immortals slaying formation disappeared, and they all revealed painful expressions. Tanxiu, who was controlling the demons and immortals slaying formation to kill the demonic beasts, frowned slightly. He knew who was coming the moment the zither sounded. Han Qingguo. And also Xue Qingcheng. Tan Xiu's feelings for her were very complicated. Even when he found out that Han Qingguo was Xue Qingcheng, even though his heart was filled with pain and hatred, he didn't have the heart to kill her. From that moment on, Tan Xiu thought that breaking up with her was the best choice. However, he never thought that at this moment, he would fight side by side with her and kill the demonic beasts together. Through Han Qingguo. No, through Xue Qingcheng's zither, he could even sense that Xue Qingcheng's strength had recovered to the soul formation stage. At the blockade, thousands of cultivators all focused their attention on Han Qingguo, who was floating over and sitting cross-legged on a blue stone. Seeing her sitting cross-legged and playing the zither on the spot, they were inexplicably shocked. The sound of the zither. It didn't affect them much because Han Qingguo deliberately controlled it. Even though the effect was very small, it still made their faces extremely solemn. Some of the weaker cultivators even staggered back 100 meters before wiping the cold sweat off their foreheads with lingering fear. Just now, when they heard the zither, they were almost pulled into the artistic conception of the zither. They even had a feeling that if they were pulled into the artistic conception of the zither, they would very likely be seriously injured or even in danger of dying. Who is she? The middle-aged Taoist nun, who was at the nascent soul stage, had a look of disbelief on her face. Even the kind-looking old man and the burly man were shocked. They stared at Han Qingguo without blinking. The soul formation stage. The three of them were nascent soul stage cultivators, so they could naturally feel the energy fluctuations coming from Han Qingguo's body. What shocked them was that this young woman who used the zither to attack the demonic beasts was actually a soul formation stage cultivator. She doesn't look like someone who has cultivated for 100 years or even a few hundred years. If I'm not wrong, her real age should be in her 20s. This is too unbelievable and too shocking. She only used 20 years to break through to the soul formation stage. That's right. She is indeed only in her 20s. I can still distinguish this. Now, what I want to know the most is, what kind of cultivation method did she cultivate? How could she break through to the soul formation stage in such a short time? Is she stronger than us old guys who have cultivated for hundreds of years? If it wasn't for the threat of the demonic beasts, if it wasn't for the fact that she is stronger than us, I really want to snatch the cultivation method from her. This girl is not simple. It's not an exaggeration to say that she is terrifying. After the three of them recovered from their shock, their expressions became extremely complicated. They looked at Han Qingguo who was playing the zither and whispered to each other. Not far away. Duan Mulin looked at Han Qingguo with a dumbfounded expression. He didn't notice Han Qingguo's arrival at all. He didn't even know how she came here. How did she appear here? Aquababe shook her head and said, I don't know. It's like she just appeared out of thin air. Duan Mulin took a deep look at Han Qingguo before shifting his gaze back to the demons and immortals slaughtering array in front of him. Although he couldn't see the situation inside, he was sure that Tan Xiu must be going all out to kill the demonic beasts at this moment. He knew Han Qingguo. When he sent someone to investigate Tan Xiu, Han Qingguo's information was presented to him. Therefore, when he recalled how terrifying and unfathomable Tan Xiu was, he secretly deduced that this girl named Han Qingguo should have followed Tan Xiu to learn cultivation and eventually possessed such formidable strength. Inside the demons and immortals slaughtering array, Tan Xiu's killing speed was getting faster and faster. Because Han Qingguo used the zither sound to attack, the weak demonic beasts lost their ability to resist, so it was simply a one-sided massacre. As for the nascent soul stage demonic beast, it couldn't exert its strength at all due to the zither sound. Damned humans and damned Xian Lu. Devil Gu Duodong appeared in the demons and immortals slaughtering array with another demonic beast that was comparable to a nascent soul stage powerhouse. As it cast its magical powers, it finally blocked all the lightning in the sky. I'm very angry. My king is also very angry. Damned humans, you killed my people in the demon realm. You must die and your soul must scatter. Devil Gu Duodong roared and joined forces with the other two nascent soul-stage demonic beasts. The losses caused the demons and immortals slaughtering array to constantly shake, as if it would break at any time. Tan Xiu stood at the eye of the array with a cold light flashing in his eyes. As the demons and immortals slaughtering array continued to shake, a ruthless look finally appeared on his face. He instantly stabbed the divine sword into his chest and forced out 10 drops of blood from his heart. Blood-burning secret technique. Dazzling hand gestures and mysterious hand seals were continuously cast out. The 10 drops of heart blood turned into thousands of strands of blood and spread out in all directions. In just a few breaths, they had completely disappeared without a trace. My heart is the sky, and the world is the furnace. I sacrifice my blood and turn it into demonic fire. Before his voice completely dissipated, Tan Xiu's figure had already appeared outside the demons and immortals slaughtering array. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and his body crashed to the ground. Chapter 1047. Thousands of pairs of eyes were focused on Tan Xiu at this moment. As Tan Xiu fell, a number of figures rushed over lightning fast. Sovereign. With a worried face, Mo dashed to Tan Xiu's side. He took out a few holy healing pills without hesitation and quickly stuffed them into Tan Xiu's mouth. Tan Xiu's face was as pale as paper and his body was drenched in sweat. Mo hugged him in his arms. He squeezed out a smile with difficulty and said with a hoarse voice, "Help me sit up." Mo carefully propped Tan Xiu up and made him sit cross-legged on the ground. Then, he asked with concern, "Are you really okay, Sovereign?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "I've lost nearly half of my blood, so I'm naturally very weak. There's no danger to my life. Don't worry." It was the blood ignition secret art. Tan Xiu once created a terrifying secret art in the immortal world. This secret art, combined with a feng shui array, could kill enemies 10 times stronger than him. It could also turn the entire array into a solid furnace that could melt all the lives inside. At this moment, dozens of human experts rushed to Tan Xiu's side, including the 3 nascent soul stage powerhouses, Duanmu Lin, and Han Qinggu, who stopped playing the zither and rushed over, all heard Tan Xiu's words. Everyone's expression was extremely shocked. They never dreamed that Tan Xiu would lose nearly half of his blood when he used the array to kill demonic beasts. For humans, blood was the most important part of their body as long as they hadn't ascended to become immortals. If a person lost too much blood, only death awaited them. Duanmu Lin's body trembled a bit. He squatted down next to Tan Xiu and respectfully said, "Tan Xiu, I don't know what you did, but I believe you did it for our country and for mankind. Thank you. Take a good rest and leave the killing of demonic beasts to us. We won't let you be killed as long as we're alive." Tang Xiu let out a faint smile and didn't speak. However, when his eyes swept around, his gaze paused on Han Qingwu's face, which was filled with worry, for a second. "Everyone, I'll leave the rest to you for now. I need to heal, so please do what you need to do." Having said that, Tang Xiu directly closed his eyes and immersed his mind into cultivation. Duanmu Lin looked at Mo and said in a deep voice, "Take some people to protect Tan Xiu. We're going to kill these demonic beasts. Remember, take Tan Xiu and leave this place immediately if you see something amiss. Don't worry. Sect Master's life is more important than mine." Mo nodded. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from the crowd. "Oh my God! What happened? Why is the Feng Shui Grand Formation burning?" Instantly, many pairs of eyes looked at the demons and immortals slaying array. What shocked them was that the demons and immortals slaying array gradually turned red and turned into a huge furnace. Thousands of human cultivators could even hear the roars and wails of demonic beasts coming from the inside. Han Qinggu stood not far from Duanmu Lin and the 3 nascent soul stage experts with a distressed expression in her eyes. She lightly said, "The blood ignition secret art is used in conjunction with the heaven and earth array. Once it's used, it will incinerate all enemies inside the array. Only those who are strong enough can barely escape from it. However, those who use the blood ignition secret art will need to force out the blood essence from their hearts. This blood essence is condensed from a large amount of blood in the human body. Anyone who uses this secret art will suffer a huge backlash and even become severely weakened. He's using his life to kill these demonic beasts. Duan Mulin, the 3 nascent soul stage powerhouses, and nearly 100 cultivators in the surroundings gasped and turned to look at Han Qingguo. Duan Mulin walked a few steps toward Han Qingguo and cupped his fists. Miss Han, thank you for your help just now. Tan Xiu's condition isn't very good. Can you help him? Han Qingguo shook her head and interrupted Duan Mulin. There was a bit of bitterness in her voice as she said, I have no way to help him. Even if I do, I'm afraid he won't let me help him. Why? Asked Duan Mulin with a frown. Aren't you very close to each other? With eyes full of love, Han Qingguo shot a deep look at Tan Xiu. Then, she immediately soared into the sky and sprinted hundreds of meters in the air. She then sat cross-legged in the void, placed the zither on her thighs, and began to play immortal music to influence the demonic beasts inside the demons and immortals slaughtering array. Damn it! Devil Gu Duo 2 furiously roared again and again. Ever since she rushed into the demons and immortals slaughtering array, she had been severely affected. She originally planned to kill Tan Xiu with her own strength and destroy the array. But not only did she fail to kill Tan Xiu, but she also fell into the trap. What infuriated her the most was that countless demonic beasts that followed her to Earth had died tragically. Escape! Run! The other 2 demonic beasts that were comparable to nascent soul stage powerhouses roared at Devil Gu Duo 2 at the same time. They could see that they couldn't break the array with their strength, let alone rescue all the demonic beasts. They even felt a strong sense of crisis from the bottom of their hearts. They realized that if this furnace-like array were to explode, they would be blown to pieces. Devil Gu Duo 2 angrily roared a few times, but she helplessly found that she couldn't break the array at all. She also felt a sense of crisis, so she finally chose to run for her life. Split, she cast another divine ability, and hundreds of her figures instantly appeared around her. Dozens of golden core demonic beasts were caught by her. At the same time, the 2 demonic beasts that were comparable to nascent soul stage powerhouses were wrapped up and solidified in an instant. In an instant, countless black holes appeared and black chains bombarded a single point, tearing a small gap in the array. She then led the 2 demonic beasts that were comparable to nascent soul stage powerhouses and dozens of golden core stage demonic beasts to escape from the demons and immortals slaughtering array. Boom! A huge power erupted from the demons and immortals slaughtering array, spreading in all directions like a mushroom cloud. Tens of thousands of demonic beasts that entered the demons and immortals slaughtering array were blown to pieces, leaving only their demon cores on the ground. In an instant, Tan Xiu, who was sitting cross-legged at the blockade line, opened his eyes. 2 rays of light flashed. After a short period of recovery, he regained his mobility and quickly sprinted to the huge pit that was dozens of meters deep and dozens of kilometers wide. As a gust of air swept past, he quickly collected the demon cores and put them into his interspatial ring. Thousands of human cultivators were frightened, including the 3 nascent soul stage powerhouses. They stared at the terrifying scene in front of them, dumbfounded. Looking at Tan Xiu's constantly flickering figure, they even felt that it was difficult to breathe. Too terrifying. Although they didn't know how many demonic beasts had entered the formation, the explosion of the formation was so powerful that it made their hearts churn like a tidal wave. Half a minute later, Tan Xiu used his interspatial ring to suck all the demon cores inside. After observing with his spiritual sense, he determined that the number of demon cores he had collected was 45,620. In other words, he had paid an extremely painful price to successfully kill 45,620 demonic beasts. Almost half. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction. He turned around and flew to the front of Duanmu Lin, laughing aloud. Senior Duanmu, I've killed nearly half of the demonic beasts, but the array I laid out has also been completely destroyed. I'm afraid we'll have to fight the demonic beasts head-on next. Duanmu Lin's pupils shrunk and he exclaimed in horror, "You said you successfully killed nearly half of the demonic beasts?" "How many did you kill?" 45,620, answered Tan Xiu. "What?" This time, not only Duanmu Lin, but the other cultivators also exclaimed in shock. If there was anyone who could remain calm among the people present, it was undoubtedly Han Qingguo. Han Qingguo and Tan Xiu had been together for thousands of years, so she naturally knew how powerful Tan Xiu's blood ignition secret art was after he combined it with an array. In the past, Tan Xiu once hunted down an evil race. There were billions of them, and he used this method to slaughter all of them. Unfortunately, his current strength was very weak. Compared with his previous peak strength, he was not even 1/10,000th. Otherwise, even if the Himalayas were full of demonic beasts, he would still be able to easily obliterate them. Bastard! Suddenly, an angry roar came from the depths of the Himalayas. The blood fiend monarch's figure moved as fast as lightning and instantly appeared above the deep pit. It then spewed black flames from its mouth and instantly arrived in front of thousands of humans. "Block it!" Tan Xiu's expression drastically changed, and his heart instantly turned cold. He could judge the blood fiend monarch's strength from its aura. That was the power possessed by a body integration stage powerhouse. "It seems I can only let the star devourer insect attack." Tan Xiu sighed inwardly and shook his head helplessly. Just as he was about to release the star devourer insect, a huge aura suddenly came from the direction of Ugly Town. Moreover, the intense heat seemed to ignite the earth, and the snow within a radius of tens of kilometers began to melt rapidly. A demonic beast. The fire Qilin was 3 stories tall, and its entire body was crimson. It was covered in raging flames, and it quickly rushed to the sky above the blockade line. As the flames collided with the demonic fire, the terrifying airflow caused all the cultivators to be shocked, and they were forced to retreat towards Ugly Town. After retreating to the sky above Ugly Town with the crowd, Tan Xiu watched the fire Qilin and the blood fiend monarch collide with each other with a strange look on his face. He remembered this fire Qilin very clearly. When he went treasure hunting with Miao Wentong and Xiaomingzhen, he had snatched a lot of precious ores from the underground maze where the fire Qilin was located. Wasn't it trapped in the underground maze? Why did it come out now? And why is it standing on the side of human cultivators and fighting that terrifying demonic beast? Chapter 1048. At this time, Miao Wentong and Xiaomingzhen silently appeared beside Tan Xiu. Both of them wore the same strange expression and shot Tan Xiu an inquiring look. "That's right. It's that fire Qilin," said Tan Xiu in a low voice. "But I didn't expect it to be so powerful. It seems that it didn't want to kill us, else we would have died in its hands no matter how fast we ran." "Did it break the natural array outside the underground maze?" asked Miao Wentong in a low voice. "How else did it come out?" "I'm guessing that the natural array didn't trap it," said Tan Xiu. "It's using the natural array to prevent outsiders from entering the underground space where it's located. However, though it's very strong, it's still lacking compared to that demonic beast." Miao Wentong's expression changed and he hurriedly asked, "Then what should we do?" "The fire Qilin's sudden appearance is like a savior. If it can't kill that terrifying demonic beast, then we can only be slaughtered." Tan Xiu was silent for a moment. Then, he suddenly looked at Han Qingguo and said in a deep voice, "Join me to help the fire Qilin if you don't want to die. Only by killing it can we survive." "I'll do whatever you tell me to do." Han Qingguo directly nodded. Tan Xiu slightly furrowed his brows and immediately sat cross-legged. He arranged the 36 demon cores into a spirit-amassing array and began to communicate with the stars in the universe, crazily absorbing the power of the stars. The battle between the fire Qilin and the blood beast king was particularly terrifying. They fought from the blockade line to the depths of the Himalayas and then rushed out again. For those cultivators with very low cultivation, it was impossible to tell who was stronger and who was weaker. However, they were fortunate that a fire Qilin appeared at the critical moment, else they would have died here. Whoosh! 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 4 figures flickered lightning fast from the distance and appeared in the place where Tan Xiao was in the blink of an eye. Tang En's figure flickered and directly disappeared, whereas Tang Guang, Qi Nan, and Kawako quickly looked at Tan Xiao. "Moo, what happened to Grand Master?" asked Tang Guang hurriedly as he looked at Tan Xiao, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, dripping with blood. Sect Master used the geomancy array to kill tens of thousands of demonic beasts, but he was also seriously injured, said Moo. Right now, he's making the best use of his time to heal and recover his strength. "Is there any big problem?" asked Tang Guang hurriedly. "It's not a big problem." Moo shook his head and said, "Sect Master will be able to recover as before as long as he has some time." Tang Guang and the others secretly breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. At this moment, Duanmu Lin strode in the direction of Tan Xiao. He had already discovered that tens of thousands of magical beasts were charging towards him. "Xiao!" Shui Yu's figure appeared out of the blue to block Duanmu Lin's path and lightly said, "Senior Duanmu, Tan Xiao is recuperating. I hope you won't disturb him." Duanmu Lin was startled by Shui Yu's ghostly figure. After stopping his pace, he calmed down and observed Shui Yu a few times before asking in amazement, "You, how did you become so strong? It shouldn't be, right? Did Tan Xiao teach you some skills? You don't need to worry about how I became so strong, do you, Senior Duanmu?" said Shui Yu lightly. "If the news I got is correct, you should be the commander of the demonic beasts. Don't tell me you don't need to fight now that the army of demonic beasts has arrived. The number of demonic beasts is just too many." Duanmu Lin forced a smile. "Even if Tan Xiao has killed tens of thousands of them, we're still no match for those demonic beasts. Judging from the overall strength of human cultivators, we're not a match for those demonic beasts at all. That's why I came here in a hurry to ask Tan Xiao if he can rearrange the geomancy array and use it to kill those demonic beasts. He's recuperating now." Shui Yu shook her head and said, "Please wait until he comes to see you no matter what you want." This, Duanmu Lin hesitated for a while before he finally sighed helplessly and turned to leave. Shui Yu strode forward and lightly came to Tan Xiao. She took out a delicate jade box from her interspatial ring and placed it in front of Tan Xiao. Then, she softly said, "This is the spirit condensation jade pill Big Sis Yen gave you. She said it will help you." Tan Xiao opened his eyes and a happy mood quickly grew inside his heart. The spirit condensation jade pill was a good elixir even in the immortal world. Not only could it greatly improve one's spiritual sense, but any cultivator below the immortal stage could directly break through their current level and have their strength soar after taking it. Just in time. Tan Xiao opened the jade box and quickly took out the spirit condensation jade pill from inside. He stuffed it into his mouth and closed his eyes again to absorb and refine it. In just a few minutes, Tan Xiao woke up from his cultivation. The moment he opened his eyes, he saw the fire Qilin's huge body being bombarded by the Blood Beast King and slamming into a 1,000-meter-high snow-capped mountain. On the ground, Duanmu Lin and thousands of human cultivators were already fighting the demonic beasts. Fortunately, the Tang sect's disciples formed a sword array and constantly resisted the demonic beasts' attacks, preventing the human cultivators from being defeated and being slaughtered by the demonic beasts. "Shui Yu, Han Qinggu, you two come with me to help the fire Qilin. The rest of you hunt the demonic beasts and pay attention to the spirit formation and nascent soul demonic beasts among them." Whoosh! 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 3 figures dashed toward the Blood Beast King. Tan Xiao was very lucky. After taking the spirit condensation jade pill, not only did his injuries heal, his spiritual sense was also greatly enhanced, and even his cultivation made a breakthrough to the 3rd level of the Star Heavenly Essence stage. The only thing that puzzled him was that even though he had broken through to the 3rd level, he still hadn't obtained the Star Essence divine ability. Several nascent soul stage seniors helped the others kill the demonic beasts. "Oh, you guys also attack!" Tan Xiao shouted as he rushed toward the Blood Beast King. "Kill! Kill!" The melee turned into a bloodbath. It caused the ground to flow with rivers of blood and corpses to be strewn all over the ground. If an ordinary person were to witness this scene, that person would be scared to death. Watching Han Qinggu and Shuiyu rushing toward the Blood Beast King, Tan Xiu swung his arm and a stream of qi instantly rushed toward the snowy mountain peak. It instantly wrapped around the Fire Qilin and pulled him up from the top. Fire Qilin, thank you for not killing us. That demonic beast is very terrifying. If you fight it alone, I'm afraid you won't be its opponent. Let's join forces to kill it and get rid of this scourge, said Tan Xiu in a clear voice. The Fire Qilin seemed to recognize Tan Xiu. He snorted coldly and sent his spiritual sense directly into Tan Xiu's sea of consciousness. Kid, you took a lot of things from me. I don't want you to return them now, but I want half of the demon cores in those demonic beasts' corpses. Tan Xiu stared blankly and hurriedly said, Fire Qilin, demon cores are too important to me. Half is too much. I promise to give you 1/5 of the demon cores to make up for my previous apology. How about it? 1/3. The Fire Qilin's thought came again. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he gritted his teeth and said, no problem. I'll give you 1/3 of the demon cores. But you need to answer a question for me. How do you know that demonic beasts have demon cores? What do you want so many demon cores for? I used to be an immortal beast in the immortal world, so I naturally know that demonic beasts have demon cores, said the Fire Qilin. There are no immortal stones or energy crystals on Earth. I want to arrange an array to return to the immortal world, but I lack something useful. Demon cores can replace immortal stones. You can arrange an array from Earth to the immortal world? Asked Tan Xiu in astonishment. The Fire Qilin nodded and then shook his head. His voice was transmitted to Tan Xiu's sea of consciousness again. There is a damaged spatial array on Earth. I just need to repair it. However, it's been so many years, so I don't know if it can be repaired in the end. Tan Xiu looked ecstatic and said in a deep voice, I'll help you repair the teleportation array. Don't worry. I have a deep attainment in arrays, and there are few immortals in the immortal world who are better than me. Anyways, let's stop talking and join hands to kill that demonic beast. The Fire Qilin didn't hesitate and dashed toward the Blood Beast Monarch. However, its voice was transmitted to Tan Xiu's sea of consciousness again. I can't kill it, so I can only seal it. This demonic beast is very strong, and it's not just at the body integration stage. If I'm not mistaken, it's in the same situation as me, at least comparable to a perfected golden immortal. Hiss, Tan Xiu gasped upon hearing this. If what the Fire Qilin said was true, then it would be very difficult to kill it. This Fire Qilin is a scourge. We must get rid of it. Don't worry. As long as we can severely injure it, I'll have a way to kill it. Tan Xiu sent a voice transmission to the Fire Qilin just as he was about to rush to the front of Blood Beast Monarch. Understood. The Fire Qilin didn't say anything else and cast various divine abilities one after another. Together with Tan Xiu, Han Qinggu, and Shuiyu, they launched a flurry of attacks on Blood Beast Monarch. Although Tan Xiu had made a breakthrough, he could only barely match an early-stage soul formation cultivator and was even slightly inferior to Han Qinggu and Shuiyu. However, with the addition of the three people, Blood Beast Monarch was immediately suppressed. The soul formation stage demonic beast wanted to help Blood Beast Monarch, but was stopped by the three nascent soul stage human powerhouses. Time fleeted by. After a full 2 hours, Blood Beast Monarch was already riddled with scars and its aura had weakened a lot. Tan Xiu, Han Qinggu, and Shuiyu had also consumed a lot of their energy. If they continued to fight like this, they would probably run out of true essence. Han Qinggu, Heavenly Demon Zither Melody. Tan Xiu dodged Blood Beast Monarch's fierce blow and instantly retreated to Han Qinggu's side. Han Qinggu complied. Taking advantage of the Fire Qilin and Shuiyu attacking Blood Beast Monarch, she instantly retreated a kilometer and played her zither in midair. She once owed Tan Xiu, and she still loved him deeply even now. Therefore, she was very obedient. Chapter 1049. It was the heavenly demon zither song. It was a terrifying technique that could confuse one's mind and create illusions. After the battle, Tan Xiu realized that although this demonic beast's mental force was very strong, it had become very weak due to the suppression of the heaven and earth laws in this world. Using the heavenly demon zither song to influence it was definitely better than having Han Qinggu participate in the battle. Sure enough. As the heavenly demon zither song played, Blood Fiend Monarch's movements suddenly became sluggish. It must be noted that a slight carelessness in a fight between powerhouses could cost one their life. Blood Fiend Monarch's speed and strength slowed down, and it even desperately shook its head in an attempt to shake off the zither music that drilled into its mind. Boom! The fire Qilin opened its mouth and spat out a red pill that bombarded Blood Fiend Monarch's abdomen. Just as Blood Fiend Monarch howled in pain, Shuiyu waved her immortal sword and tore a bloody wound on its back. The wound was so severe that it nearly fell to the ground due to the pain. Myriad swords returned to origin. Tan Xiu manipulated the divine sword and thousands of sword shadows shot toward Blood Fiend Monarch. While the fire Qilin was still in shock, the swords pierced Blood Fiend Monarch's body and left thousands of wounds on its body. Roar! Blood Beast Monarch showed a look of despair. It never dreamed that someone could pierce its body with a sword. It must be noted that there was a layer of defense inside its body that even a supreme-grade immortal sword couldn't penetrate its body without the control of a powerhouse. That sword, Blood Fiend Monarch howled and turned to rush into the depths of the Himalayas. But after rushing for more than 10 kilometers, its aura suddenly stopped and its body fell to the ground. Did I just kill it? The fire Qilin stared dumbfoundedly at Blood Fiend Monarch's body that fell to the ground. In just a few flashes, it appeared next to the body. Tan Xiu grinned and appeared at Blood Fiend Monarch's side. The divine sword continued to cut its body into 8 parts and Tan Xiu stored them all into his interspatial ring. The fire Qilin angrily glared at Tan Xiu and said in a deep voice, "Give me this demonic beast's demon nucleus." Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "You can use the demon nucleus to repair the array, but I can help you. Also, the magic core is very important to me, so I can't give it to you. In fact, you only have one goal, and that is to repair the teleportation formation and send you back to the immortal world. Right? That's right. I just want to return to the immortal world. After being trapped on Earth for tens of thousands of years, I'm about to go crazy." "I promise you," said Tan Xiu. "You can leave freely if you can fix the teleportation array. If you can't fix it, I have a way to take you to the immortal world. However, it will take a long time, probably 10 to 20 years." The fire unicorn asked in surprise, "You have a way to go to the immortal world? What will you do?" "I'll be able to ascend to the immortal world after I successfully cross the tribulation," said Tan Xiu. "When the time comes, I naturally have a way to bring many people to the immortal world." The fire unicorn observed Tan Xiu deeply and then nodded. "I believe you this time, but I hope you won't let me down. I've been waiting for tens of thousands of years, so I don't care about waiting for another 10 or 20 years. If you can really bring me back to the immortal world, I don't even need a single demon core." "It's a deal," replied Tan Xiu immediately. The demon core was too important to him. The more he cultivated, the more resources he needed. If he could get nearly 100,000 demon cores, he could smoothly break through and eventually become a powerhouse comparable to the immortal stage. Fire Unicorn, help the human cultivators kill the other demonic beasts. There are still a lot of demonic beasts left. Let's kill more of them and let the human cultivators die. Tan Xiu turned to look at the direction of Ugly Town and spoke. "All right." The fire unicorn didn't care about it. It was thanks to Tan Xiu's group of 3 that they were able to kill that demonic beast. With the help of the fire unicorn, Tan Xiu, Han Qinggu, and Shuiyu, the originally suppressed battle situation instantly changed dramatically. Han Qinggu played the zither and used music to attack. On the other hand, Tan Xiu and Shuiyu slaughtered in all directions, constantly reaping the lives of the demonic beasts. The fire unicorn was even more brutal. He was like a tiger in a flock of sheep, killing the demonic beasts with no place to hide. The whole day passed. The battle in the Himalayas barely came to an end. Only less than 5,000 demonic beasts were left from nearly 100,000. They fled in panic and disappeared without a trace, apparently hiding somewhere in the depths of the Himalayas. Similarly, the human race also suffered great losses. There were originally thousands of cultivators, but now there were only 800 people left. Among these 800 people, more than 100 were crippled and more than 200 were seriously injured. At the temporary encampment, Duan Mulin called the leaders of the various forces. His mood was very heavy and his injuries were quite serious, but he didn't care about it at all. Everyone, we've wiped out the demonic beast army, leaving only thousands of demonic beasts in hiding. We can't find them for the time being and have no way to kill them. Therefore, I want to ask for your opinion. Do you want to stay and go deep into the depths of the Himalayas to continue hunting the remaining demonic beasts? The demonic beast army has been wiped out and the remaining thousands of demonic beasts have also gone into hiding. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, I'm afraid it won't be easy to find them in the depths of the Himalayas. Further, I still have a lot of things to do, so the Tang sect's disciples won't be staying here. I think it'll be very easy to find and kill those demonic beasts given the abilities of our friends in the cultivation world. Duan Mulin slightly furrowed his brows and forced a wry smile inwardly. Among the people in front of him, he hoped that Tan Xiu would stay with the Tang sect's disciples to help him hunt the demonic beasts. However, he was also aware of Tan Xiu's character. Once he decided on something, it would be very difficult for him to change his mind. Hence, he could only helplessly say, forget it since you have something to do. They won't pose too much of a threat to us as long as we don't encounter a large-scale demonic beast attack here. Inform me at once if there's any unforeseen event, said Tan Xiu. Duan Mulin nodded without a word and then asked the leaders of the other forces. After his pleading, most of the cultivator forces were finally willing to stay and help hunt the remaining demonic beasts. Even the whole unitary sect's nascent soul stage ancestor and the white-robed youth who had just woken up expressed their willingness to stay and wait until all the demonic beasts were killed. Under the hazy night, Tan Xiu quietly left Ugly Town with 192 disciples of the Tang sect. Although the Tang sect's disciples had made great contributions this time, Tan Xiu didn't accept any reward. What he had to do now was to hurry back to Nine Dragons Island and go into seclusion for some time. Less than a minute after they left, 4 or 5 figures silently appeared and looked in the direction they left in, all of them revealing respectful expressions. Bureau Chief Duanmu, if it wasn't for Tan Xiu, I'm afraid that we wouldn't be able to win this war. The middle-aged nun sighed. You're right. Duan Mulin nodded and said, Tan Xiu has indeed made a great contribution. But it's a pity that this brat already has a very high status and background. Besides, he doesn't like to be famous, so there aren't many bonuses for him. It's just unfair for him. The kind-looking old man slowly said, indifferent to fame and fortune, only seeking longevity. Fellow Daoist Tang is so young, yet he possesses such great strength. This is truly shocking. Now, I'm really curious about Tang sect. What kind of cultivation sect is it to be able to cultivate so many peerless geniuses? Duan Mulin shook his head and said, I think it's best if you don't try to investigate the Tang sect. Else, Tan Xiu will be hostile to you once he learns about it. The kind-looking old man shook his head with a smile and said, Don't worry. I won't send anyone to investigate Tang sect, even if I'm curious. Besides, Tang sect has 2 spirit formation stage experts, a force that far surpasses the other cultivation forces. I may be old, but my brain is still pretty good, so I naturally can't have a conflict with Tan Xiu. At noon the next day, Tan Xiu appeared on Jingmen Island with the Tang sect's disciples. He didn't want to expose the matter on Nine Dragons Island, so he temporarily stationed everyone after they returned to the Everlasting Feast Hall's headquarters. Grand Master Tangan silently appeared at Tang Xiu's side and respectfully reported, We've investigated them. There are a total of 6 groups of people following us. Except for 2 groups whose origins we don't know, we've asked about the other 4 groups. All of them are from cultivation clans. They don't seem to have any malicious intent toward us. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Tan Xiu sneered. Our Tang sect's disciples have performed so well in this crisis, so it's only natural that it will attract the attention of other cultivation forces. It's only human nature for them to send people to follow us. However, we need to keep a low profile. Aren't we going to kill all those people who are following us? Asked Tang An hesitantly. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, forget it. Those cultivators who can survive are the heroes of humanity. We don't need to pay attention to those people as long as Nine Dragons Island is not exposed. Tang An, tell Tang Guang to drive away all those trackers. Understood, Grand Master. Tang An replied, and her figure flickered and disappeared. Suddenly, the door of Tan Xiu's residence was gently pushed open by a gust of wind as Xueyu came to Tan Xiu with a smile on her face. She felt as though a century had passed during her seclusion cultivation. Although her strength was improving every day, she missed Tan Xiu's embrace every time she faced a crisis. Due to the demonic beasts, she didn't have much time to be intimate with Tan Xiu even though she could see Tan Xiu now. She had been holding back her longing for him until now. I miss you. Xueyu stretched out her arms and hugged Tan Xiu's waist tightly. Tan Xiu could feel Xueyu's true feelings and was slightly touched. He smiled and hugged her back, saying, did Yan bully you? She even arranged that array for you to gain experience. No, said Xueyu hurriedly. Yan did it for my own good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to help you in this demonic beast incident. Chapter 1050. A warm smile appeared on Tan Xiu's face as he looked at Xueyu's exquisite face. From the time Xueyu shamelessly pestered him until now, he had developed some feelings for her. Such a warming feeling made him feel very comfortable. Misfortune may be a blessing in disguise. Tan Xiu turned around and walked to the window. He couldn't help but sigh while looking at the lush trees and bright flowers outside. A beautiful face emerged in his mind. Xueyu followed him and stood side by side with Tan Xiu. Then, she asked in surprise, what do you mean? Tan Xiu shook his head and smilingly said, I don't want to talk about the past anymore. Let's talk about something else. I'll ask you something, and you have to answer me seriously. Xueyu nodded thoughtfully and said, ask away. I'll definitely answer it seriously. Although you've broken through to the spirit formation stage and can be regarded as the top powerhouse on Earth, Tan Xiu asked. But I want to know something. Do you want to be a stable woman by my side in the future? Or do you want to share my burden and accompany me to conquer the world? Xueyu suddenly smiled and said, this question is actually very easy to answer. I want to follow you wherever you go. Being your woman is not only to wash your clothes and cook for you, but also to face all enemies with you. I don't want to be helpless when you're in danger. Tan Xiu put his hand around her fragrant shoulder and let her lean on his shoulder. Then, he said in a soft voice, since you choose the second one, then help me train the scouts after we return to Nine Dragons Island. I hope you can train a lot of Foundation Establishment and Golden Core experts in the next few years. Xueyu nodded. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and said, I'm afraid the demonic beasts in the Himalayas won't be completely eliminated in a short time. If they hide and breed, the number of demonic beasts will increase in the future. Since you want me to train those children, it's better to let me select the elites and take them to the depths of the Himalayas. Through Yen's training, I'm deeply aware that only through dangerous battles can I truly become stronger. Not only the demonic beasts in the depths of the Himalayas, but also the battlefields all over the world, Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. I hope that wherever there is a war in the future, there will be the shadow of our Tang sect's disciples. There are a lot of things to do this year, so I won't waste time. Starting next year, I need to make a big move. At that time, our Tang sect's strength will multiply and the so-called 3 strongest organizations in the world will have to give way to us. What big move? Asked Xueyu. Tan Xiu mysteriously smiled and said, just wait. You'll see soon enough. Shuai Yu didn't ask again. She would agree and support any decision Tan Xiu made. Even if Tan Xiu told her that he wanted to be the king of the world, she would follow him without hesitation. Bang bang, the door was knocked and Kawako's voice came from outside. Boss, it's me, Kawako. Shuai Yu turned around and walked to the door. When she opened it, she saw Kawako standing straight outside. Her black leather clothes vividly displayed her very good figure. Her exquisite and beautiful face and her long black hair made her look even more valiant and formidable. Lady Boss. Kawako had witnessed Shuai Yu's strength and respected her from the bottom of her heart. She also learned that she was Tan Xiu's woman, so she was very respectful at this moment. Tan Xiu is inside. You can talk now, said Shuai Yu with a smile. Kawako watched Shuai Yu leave and then entered the door. She came to Tan Xiu's back and respectfully said, Boss, Missouri always said that you were looking for me. Tan Xiu turned around and observed Kawako. He couldn't help but sigh. I never thought that you would break through to the Golden Core stage so quickly. Back then, I took you in as my subordinate because I wanted you to work for me and get Japan's cultivation resources. But now it seems that my original idea has been overturned. You're a talent that Tan Xiu needs. Kawako secretly rejoiced inwardly. When she received Tan Xiu's summon and rushed to China, she faintly felt that she had become very powerful and that her strength was not far from Tan Xiu's. Maybe it wouldn't take long for her to surpass Tan Xiu. But after the battle in the Himalayas, she clearly realized that the gap between her and Tan Xiu had not been narrowed, but had instead widened. Such a discovery made Kawako finally realize that Tan Xiu's strength was not something she could compare with. Not only did he have a large number of powerhouses under him, but he was also someone she had to look up to. Hence, her mentality had also changed. She had completely submitted to Tan Xiu and no longer dared to have any disloyal thoughts. Even more so. After she learned that Tan Xiu founded the Tang sect and became its first sect master, she was full of expectations, hoping to become a disciple of the sect and become Tan Xiu's true confidant. At this moment, she had a faint feeling that what she had been looking forward to was about to come true. I'll control my men, said Tan Xiu. The strong will rise and the weak will step down. Regardless of your origin, I'll put you in an important position as long as you have formidable strength. You'll get a glorious position in the Tang sect. Kawako, I told you before that the first 6 of my men who break through to the Golden Core stage will become the guardian elders of the Tang sect. I won't be prejudiced against you just because you're a Japanese. Hence, I'll allow you to join the Tang sect from now on and become a true disciple. Furthermore, you're also a guardian elder of the Tang sect, so all the ordinary disciples must salute you when they see you. Further, you can also get the cultivation resources that the guardian elders of the Tang sect get every year. Kawako looked ecstatic and directly knelt on one knee. She clenched her right fist on her left chest and respectfully said, Thank you, old. Thank you, sect master. You're the one who spared my life and taught me a cultivation technique that made me very powerful. You're also the one who sent people to help me become a big shot in Japan. My life is yours from now on, and I'm willing to be at your beck and call and devote everything to you. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes. He could see the sincerity in Kawako's eyes and gently nodded. Then, he personally helped her up and said, Remember what you said today. When you break through to the spirit formation stage in the future and leave Earth with me to set foot on a broader stage, I'll lift the seal in your body. Further, if you can break through to the nascent soul stage faster, I'll treat you as my right-hand man in the future and put you in an important position. Kawako's expression slightly changed and she hurriedly asked, Old Sect Master, you said you'll take me away from Earth? To where? In my eyes, Earth is just a speck of dust in the vast universe. It's just too small, said Tang Xiu meaningfully. Even this universe is just a tiny place in my eyes, Kawako. The world is far bigger than you can imagine, and there are vast starfields in the distant places. The star regions formed a boundless world, and there were billions of races living there. There were countless powerhouses. My battlefield will be there in the future. If you're determined to follow me, you'll be able to see a vaster world and fight side by side with me to carve out a brighter world. You mean, there are countless humans in other places in the universe besides Earth? Asked Kawako in amazement. A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Shio's mouth. Humans are just a very small part of them. There are hundreds of millions of races and innumerable powerhouses there. Forget it. You won't be able to imagine it even if I tell you now. After you break through to the spirit formation stage, you'll be qualified to leave with me. You'll be able to proclaim yourself as a king there and carve out a path for yourself, becoming an existence worshipped by hundreds of millions of races and powerhouses. Kawako's eyes burst with a dazzling light, and her heartbeat suddenly accelerated several times. She was an ambitious woman, and the vision of the future described by Tan Shio filled her heart with fighting spirit. Could it be that sect master originally belonged there? Such a thought suddenly popped up in her mind. Tan Shio handed her a storage ring and lightly smiled. Drip a drop of your blood on it and sense it with your spiritual sense. There are cultivation resources inside as a reward for you. Take it back and have a look. Don't go back to Japan in the near future. Follow me to the Tang sect's real encampment and cultivate there for some time. Understood, replied Kawako respectfully. Is there anything urgent you need to deal with in Japan? Asked Tan Shio. Kawako hesitated for a moment and then said, I've been preparing for a big opportunity recently. If this plan succeeds, I'll become the Yamamoto family's patriarch and the North Star One Blade School's sect master. My status in Japan will also advance by leaps and bounds. Also, I've been personally presiding over a business that involves nearly 10 million in investment. Once it's done, the future earnings will be even more massive. Tan Shio squinted his eyes and shot a deep look at Kawako. Then, he lightly smiled and said, if so, I'll allow you to choose 10 children to be your right-hand men after you come with me to the Tang sect's encampment. After you've finished your cultivation in Nine Dragons Island, you can take them back to Japan to work for you. Children? Asked Kawako, confused. Don't ask too much. Tan Shio lightly smiled and said, you'll know when we arrive at the sect's encampment. Let's go. We need to stay here for 2 days. After that, we'll leave. Understood. Kawako left the room and closed the door from the outside. Tan Shio then looked out of the window again and silently pondered about something. He had exposed the existence of the Tang sect due to the demonic beasts, as well as the fact that he had a large number of powerhouses under him. Although the Tang sect's strength could deter some people, it would also make some people wary of him. He also thought about Duanmu Lin and the Special Abilities Bureau. Now that the Special Abilities Bureau had suffered heavy losses, Duanmu Lin had begun to think of ways to select some experts from the rogue cultivators in the country to join the Special Abilities Bureau. If the country represented by Duanmu Lin also began to be wary of him, it would be very troublesome in the future. Chapter 1051. In both his past and present life, Tan Shio was good at thinking. Furthermore, after experiencing the ways of the world on Earth, Tan Shio's EQ had also been raised to a high level. Although he still couldn't sort out his feelings, at least it didn't affect his mood. There were other reasons for him to stay in Jingmen Island, the 2 islands in the boundless sea in the south. Breeding fierce beasts. Planting medicinal herbs. Each of these 2 things was very important. As the children he nurtured grew up in the future, their strength would also grow stronger, and the cultivation resources he would need to consume would be an astronomical figure. If he were to rely solely on the wild medicinal herbs on Earth, the supply would definitely fall short of the demand. At the window. Tan Shio's expression suddenly moved. He paused his thoughts and looked at the southern sea because he sensed a surging aura deliberately spreading from the south. Although the time was very short, only a few seconds, in the next moment, he instantly sprinted towards the south. Tan Shio. Shuiyu, who also sensed the aura, chased after him on her immortal sword. Did you also feel it? Asked Tan Shio. Do you feel it familiar? No. Shuiyu shook her head. Tan Shio sighed inwardly. Shuiyu, after all, had never experienced the brutal immortal world. She also lacked the experience of fighting and killing between humans, immortals and demons, so her ability to identify auras was very poor. The moment he sensed the aura, he knew who it was. The boundless sea was surging with waves. However, a raging fire was burning on the surface of the sea. Tan Xiao and Shuiyu flew high in the air and appeared in the deep sea tens of kilometers away. Then, they saw the fire Qilin stepping on the surface of the sea and looking at them. "You're here." The fire Qilin didn't even glance at Shuiyu. His eyes were locked on Tan Xiao as he communicated with Tan Xiao through his divine sense. "I knew you'd find me sooner or later, Fire Qilin, but I didn't expect you to come so fast." Tan Xiao smiled. "I'm very curious about your origin, Fire Qilin. Why did you choose to stand on the side of humans and demonic beasts? You don't need to know my background, although you've already guessed a little. I need a way to leave Earth and return to the immortal world, so I need a teleportation array. All the monster cores that you humans obtained from magical beasts belong to you. I didn't get any. Because you said you could bring me back to the immortal world." The flames on the fire Qilin's body flared up, and the temperature of the surrounding sea rose as well. Around the fire Qilin, the seawater boiled and many fish and prawns floated to the surface. "I know you want to return to the immortal world, Fire Qilin," said Tan Xiao indifferently. "I have a way to bring you back to the immortal world. But now was not the time. I've told you before that I still have a lot of things that I haven't done, and my strength hasn't reached the point where I can break through to become an immortal. So, you need to wait patiently. When I go to the immortal world, I will naturally inform you." "But..." the fire Qilin asked, "But what?" "You should be well aware that entering the immortal world is a very difficult thing," said Tan Xiao indifferently. "It requires a huge amount of energy, and the process is also full of danger. Therefore, it's hard for me to trust you if you don't clearly explain your situation in the immortal world and how you came to Earth." The fire Qilin fell into silence. He knew that Tan Xiao was right, but he didn't want to mention the past to outsiders. However, in order to return to the immortal world, he decided to reveal a bit of information to the human in front of him. "I'm the guardian immortal beast of an immortal sect in the immortal world. My status is above the azure dragon, vermilion bird, white tiger, and black tortoise. The founder of the immortal sect I belong to is a human from Earth, so he left an order before he ascended to the god's realm. I sensed that the planet he was born on was facing a huge crisis, so I, azure dragon, vermilion bird, white tiger, and black tortoise rushed here to protect this planet." Tan Xiao's expression changed and he said in a deep voice, "That's just nonsense. The azure dragon holy sect, white tiger holy sect, and black tortoise holy sect have disappeared from the immortal world hundreds of thousands of years ago. The only surviving one is the rosefinch holy sect, but there's no record of it in the myriad depository pavilion. Don't tell me you have nothing to do with the rosefinch holy sect I just mentioned." The fire Qilin's aura soared again. Its millstone-sized eyes stared at Tan Xiao and even stopped communicating with his spiritual sense as he shouted, "Who the hell are you? How do you know about the immortal world? How do you know about the 4 sacred sects?" Tan Xiao released his aura to resist the fire Qilin's pressure and coldly snorted. "You may be very powerful, Fire Qilin, but I'm not afraid of you. It'll be very easy for me to kill you if I want to. Therefore, retract your aura. I don't want to cause other troubles." While speaking, Tan Xiao gently raised his left hand and forced the star devourer insect out of his fingers, letting it fly up and land on his shoulder. The fire Qilin didn't notice it at first, but when the star devourer insect landed on Tan Xiao's shoulder, it cried out in horror, "Damn, damn star devourer insect. How come this race hasn't died out yet?" Tan Xiao could see the fire Qilin's fear of the star devourer insect and indifferently said, "What we're talking about now isn't about the star devourer insect, right? Tell me, what's your origin?" The fire Qilin shook its head and roared, "Knowing too much will make you die without a burial place. I just want to return to the immortal world and have no intention of harming you. Don't force me again, else I'll tear you to pieces even if you have this damn star devourer insect to protect you. Tan Xiu deeply frowned. Feeling the fire Qilin's determination, he secretly felt a bit helpless. To be honest, the fire Qilin did arouse his curiosity. If he couldn't get what he wanted to know, he wouldn't be able to eat or sleep well for the next few days. Suddenly, his expression shifted and he immediately made a few gestures toward the fire Qilin. The fire Qilin's eyes stared straight at Tan Xiu as he finished making those gestures. As its aura soared again, it let out a few excited roars and laughed. A disciple of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. You're actually a disciple of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Ha ha ha. I'm very happy to see a disciple of my sect. This proves that the Rosefinch Holy Sect hasn't been destroyed yet. What do you mean? Asked Tan Xiu in a deep voice. The fire Qilin retracted its aura and moved closer to Tan Xiu. The Five Beasts sect was the top immortal cultivation sect in the immortal world hundreds of thousands of years ago. It was founded by Master himself. The Five Beasts sect once shook the entire immortal world. Its fame even spread far and wide in the demon realm, monster realm, spirit realm, netherworld, and other worlds. Master, Azure Emperor, stood above hundreds of millions of races and overlooked all living beings. Some people once said that Master was not inferior to a real god. Nonsense! Tan Xiu angrily shouted. Azure Emperor is indeed the founding ancestor of the Rosefinch Holy Sect, but it's not the Five Beasts sect you're talking about. The fire Qilin shook its head. Just listen to me and you'll naturally know the origin of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. After hundreds of thousands of years of development, the Five Beasts sect has become the most powerful sect in the immortal world. Even the other forces in the immortal world are terrified of it. But before Master ascended to the God realm, he divided the Rosefinch Holy Sect into 5 separate sects, namely the Qilin Holy Sect, the Azure Dragon Holy Sect, the Rosefinch Holy Sect, the White Tiger Holy Sect, and the Black Tortoise Holy Sect. I'm the immortal beast protector of the Qilin Holy Sect. The Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, and Black Tortoise are the immortal beast protectors of the other 4 sections. There's an old saying in Huaxia, prosperity is followed by decline. Along with Master's ascension, the 5 sects lost the protection of the most powerful supremes and eventually attracted the attention of many forces. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, there was an earth-shattering war in the immortal world. Various forces attacked the Five Beasts sect, but the sect was eventually defeated and became an ordinary immortal sect in the immortal world. Because of this, the 5 sacred sects formed by the Five Beasts sect gradually moved to the dark. If I remember correctly, the Azure Dragon, the White Tiger, and the Black Tortoise all died in battle. Only I and the Vermilion Bird survived. I brought the descendants of the Azure Dragon, the White Tiger, the Black Tortoise, and the Vermilion Bird to Earth to protect his hometown. Tan Xiu looked at the fire Qilin in disbelief. He never dreamed that the Rosefinch Holy Sect would have such a secret. He never thought that the fire Qilin would protect Earth for hundreds of thousands of years. Fire Qilin, what about the immortals of the other sacred sects? Where did they go? I've been in the immortal world for 10,000 years, but I've never heard of the Qilin Holy Sect, the Azure Dragon Holy Sect, the White Tiger Holy Sect, and the Black Tortoise Holy Sect. Tan Xiu took a deep breath to calm his surging emotions and asked in a deep voice. I don't know what happened after that. The fire Qilin shook his head. Ever since we came to Earth, we've been guarding this planet. Although Earth was almost destroyed several times, we finally managed to save it with our joint efforts. Unfortunately, when the Azure Dragon, the White Tiger, the Vermilion Bird, and the Black Tortoise followed me here, they were all very young and not very powerful. After hundreds of thousands of years, they all died in the end. Only I managed to survive until now. Tan Xiu nodded silently. Although he didn't understand most of what the fire Qilin said, he was clear about one thing. The founder of the Rosefinch Holy Sect was called Emperor Qing. Go back first, fire Qilin. I'll remember what you said. When we return to the immortal world, I'll naturally take you to the Rosefinch Holy Sect to confirm your identity. If what you said is true, then we're on the same side, said Tan Xiu. The Fire Qilin thought for a while and suddenly said, actually, I have a way to prove what I said. Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and asked, how do you prove it? The Fire Qilin raised his head and loudly said, I know the name of your Rosefinch Holy Sex Immortal Beast Protector. I don't think there are many immortals in the immortal world who still know her name, right? Tan Xiu was shaken inwardly and replied in a deep voice, I can guarantee that only a handful of immortals in the entire immortal world know her name. And I'm one of them. Chapter 1052. A cool breeze whistled in the vast sea. Tan Xiu stepped on the surface of the sea and stared at the distant horizon. The Fire Qilin had left with a heart full of joy, leaving Tan Xiu to remain silent for a long time. Before leaving, the Fire Qilin told him the name of the Rosefinch Holy Sex Immortal Beast Protector, which was exactly the same as what Tan Xiu knew. Originally, Tan Xiu only believed 30% of the Fire Qilin's words. But after the Fire Qilin told him the name, he believed 70% of it. However, even if there was still a 10% suspicion, Tan Xiu didn't dare to lower his guard against the Fire Qilin. Once he returned to the immortal world, he would have to face several supremes. The Rosefinch Holy Sect was indeed very powerful in the immortal world and also had supremes. Rosefinch Holy Sect wouldn't be afraid if his enemy was only one supremes. But if there were several supremes, it would be very difficult to save his life before his strength was restored to its peak. Furthermore, he still had a big enemy, Shade Demon Zhu Wushou. After a long time, Tan Xiu turned to look at Shuiyu, who had a complicated expression on her face. He forced a smile and said, I'm afraid you already know my origin. Do you think that I'm an old monster who has lived for 10,000 years and despise me? If you marry a chicken, follow the chicken. If you marry a dog, follow the dog. Shuiyu shook her head and said, I'm already yours. Even if you tell me that you're a monkey who has lived for 10,000 years, I won't leave you. Pfft, Tan Xiu couldn't help but laugh. He smiled and hugged Shuiyu in his arms, saying, I didn't expect Jade Beauty to also know humor. How come I didn't find you talented in this aspect before? Humph. Shuiyu blushed. After returning to Jingmen Island's everlasting feast hall, Tan Xiu immediately led several experts from his sect to the 2 islands in the South China Sea. After inspecting them, he was very satisfied with the fierce beasts and medicinal herbs planted there. Even though they had lost their freedom, they didn't have to worry about food and water. They even began to reproduce, and their numbers were not small. On the way back, Tan Xiu's liner encountered a yacht. To his surprise, the beauty on the bow of the yacht, who was sunbathing, holding a glass of red wine and wearing a bikini, turned out to be Qing Yannan, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Beauty, let's have a drink. Tan Xiu stood at the bow of the liner and looked at Qing Yannan, who was 100 meters away. His voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly transmitted to Qing Yannan's ears. Eh. The moment Qing Yannan saw Tan Xiu, she immediately exclaimed in surprise. Then, a smile appeared on her face as she stood up and waved her arms, shouting, Great! I have some good wine here. Do you want to come over and have a taste? Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and instantly jumped from the bow. He trod on the sea surface as though he was walking on flat ground and came to the yacht in just a few seconds. He observed Qing Yannan, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, and smilingly said, I never thought that the great Belle Cheng would be so free and unrestrained. You're actually vacationing alone at sea. Is it because you got the news about your sister that all your thoughts are gone now? Thank you for saving my big sis, Tan Xiu, said Qing Yannan with a smile. You're welcome. Tan Xiu smiled and said, Officer Qing helped me a lot in the past, so it's only right to save her once. That's not what I'm talking about. Qing Yannan shook her head and said, if I'm not mistaken, my big sis should be like me now, no? Tan Xiu raised his brows and his eyes began to linger on Qing Yannan's body. After looking at her a bit shyness, he asked with a strange expression, your special ability has also awakened? Qing Yannan stared blankly and her shyness immediately disappeared without a trace. She was surprised and asked, how did you find out about it? I didn't use my special ability just now. Tan Xiu lightly smiled and said, would you believe me if I told you that the Huagua mountain used to be mine? Pfft, Qing Yannan couldn't help but burst into laughter. She rolled her eyes at Tan Xiu and snappily said, do you really think you're the Monkey King with fiery eyes of truth? That's right, I've indeed awakened my special ability. I was scared at first, but I gradually got used to it. In addition, my sister gave me a call, and I learned about the situation of special abilities from her. You two sisters are related by blood. Tan Xiu smiled and said, since her special ability has awakened, I'm afraid yours will also awaken sooner or later. However, you must remember that you must never use your special ability in front of ordinary people. Otherwise, someone will quickly find you once it's exposed. You'll probably be in a lot of trouble once they find you. The smile on Qing Yannan's face disappeared. She frowned and asked, what do you mean? Who's looking for me? What kind of trouble? It's the State Special Abilities Bureau, answered Tan Xiu. What department is this? Asked Qing Yannan curiously. To put it bluntly, most of the people here are ability users, said Tan Xiu with a smile. They are looking for ability users and then ask them to join them and serve the country. You'll be in a lot of danger in the future if you also become a member of the State Special Abilities Bureau. For example, a major event happened in the country recently. As far as I know, the number of ability users who died in battle is probably more than 100. Ability users died in battle? Although Qing Yannan didn't know what happened, she was still startled. She looked at Tan Xiu with a bewildered expression and asked, what exactly happened? How come so many ability users died? Tan Xiu, you're not lying to me, are you? I feel that I'm getting more and more powerful day by day after I got my special ability. Who can kill ability users? Are ability users very difficult to kill? Asked Tan Xiu. Qing Yannan recalled Tan Xiu's terrifying strength as well as the terrifying strength of his men. She immediately fell into silence. That's right. Tan Xiu and his men had the strength to kill ability users. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, I heard from the person in charge of Clam Island that you've performed very well in recent months, especially your wood attribute ability. It can even destroy medicinal herbs and make them grow quickly. This is definitely a great achievement. Work hard and you'll be the overall supervisor of the two islands after the person in charge is transferred back in the future. You really want me to be the overall supervisor of the two islands? Qing Yannan's eyes lit up and she was pleasantly surprised. Don't worry, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Wait until you're fully familiar with the situation here and can fully control it. The position of the overall supervisor will definitely be yours. He's gonna give me a raise, huh? Qing Yannan giggled. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, I'll tell the person in charge to increase your salary tenfold. Ha ha ha. You're an ability user now, after all, so you can't be stingy with your salary. Qing Yannan gave a thumbs up and praised, old classmate, you're really bright. You're much better than that fellow Yuan Chuling. He lent me a yacht and even took away most of the wine he hid in it. It's like he's afraid that I'll drink all his red wine. Tan Xiu's expression moved and he curiously asked, I haven't had time to contact Yuan Chuling recently. How is that guy now? How did he come to Jingmen Island to buy a yacht? I don't know. Qing Yannan shook her head and said, I only know that he's been hooking up with two students from Monster Science and Technology University recently. I don't know what they're doing specifically. That's right, I heard that those two students from Monster Science and Technology University are your classmates. My classmates? Tan Xiu wore a strange expression. After thinking for a while, he asked, Are you going to continue having fun on the sea, or are you going back to Jingmen Island with us? Since that brat Yuan Chuling is in Jingmen Island, I'm going to meet him. Alright. I've been having fun here for a long time anyway, so I'll go back with you, said Qing Yannan. Jingmen Island. Venus Hotel, in the presidential suite on the 18th floor. Yuan Chuling was sitting cross-legged and comfortably nestled on the soft sofa. In front of him, Yu Kai, who was wearing a sneaky smile on his face, glanced at the panting and sweating Hu Qingsong beside him and smoked a cigarette happily. On the coffee table in front of the three of them, over $1 million in cash was neatly arranged. It was bright red in color. I say, old Hu, can you do it or not? As long as you can complete 200 push-ups and 200 sit-ups, this $1 million bill will be all yours. Otherwise, Yu Kai and I will each get a share. The muscles on Yuan Chuling's face twitched as he let out a strange laugh. Hu Qingsong angrily glared at Yuan Chuling before he lay on the carpet and did his push-ups again. Finally, when he was almost exhausted, he managed to finish 200 push-ups with great difficulty. Then, his body seemed to be injected with power as he directly got up from the floor and grabbed the black leather bag at the side. He threw all the 1 million cash into the black bag and then proudly said, "I'm willing to bet, so I'm willing to lose. Bro, I'm done, so this 1 million is mine." Ha ha ha. Yu Kai puffed out a series of smoke rings and laughed. I say, old Hu, we've recently made tens of millions, and you've got more than 4 million, brat. Do you really have to risk your life for this 1 million? At most, I'll just go to the bath center less in the future and find a few girls to talk about love. That'll be fine. You bastard. A full man doesn't know the hunger of a starving man. Hu Qingsong smilingly scolded. My kidneys are good, so I feel uncomfortable holding it in. Anyways, Yuan Chuling, we've made so much money recently. Shouldn't we go back to Shanghai? Yuan Chuling shook his head and said, it's not easy for us to come out, and we've come across a profitable business. If we stop now, we'll suffer a loss. Both of you are Tan Xiu's classmates and brothers, so we're on the same side. Don't worry. Follow me, old Yuan, and I'm sure you'll have a good life and make a lot of money. Yu Kai put away his smile and said, old Yuan, I think what old Hu said makes sense. I'm sure you know when to stop. We did beat those brats, but they're not easy to deal with, especially that Hanson brat. He's definitely a ruthless character. If he spends a lot of money to get a good dog, our big Huang won't be able to beat him. At that time, do you want to lose the money we've won with great difficulty? That's impossible. Yuan Chuling proudly said, Big Huang has the bloodline of the Tibetan Mastiff. He's good at fighting and is definitely the king of dogs. Chapter 1053. When the three of them saw the dogfighting circle in Shanghai, they immediately fell in love with this gambling method. Yuan Chuling didn't even want to manage the gym anymore. All day long, he was thinking about how to get a good dog and then make a big profit. He didn't expect that his luck would be so good. He went to the west with Yu Kai and Hu Qingsong, and they really got a good dog. In Shanghai, the dog-fighting gambling was very strict. Although they had participated a few times and made some money, they always felt unhappy. Therefore, they heard that there were a lot of people gambling in Jingmen Island, and the scale was not small, so the three of them and a dog directly came to Jingmen Island. In just 10 days, the three of them relied on the big yellow dog with the Tibetan Mastiff bloodline to win tens of millions from a group of Jingmen Island's silk pants. Forget it, let's play one last time. No one will take out $1 million. No matter who wins or loses, we'll immediately return to Shanghai with Big Yellow. Now that we have the funds, we should learn from Big Bro Tang and start thinking of ways to start a business, said Yu Kai with all seriousness. You're talking about you, but don't drag me into it, said Yuan Chuling with a grin. Dude, I've already started my business and I've achieved very good results. Do you know how much profit my gym can make in a year? Tens of millions. Isn't it awesome? Yu Kai and Hu Qingsong rolled their eyes at the same time and then raised their middle fingers at Yuan Chuling. You're hugging Big Bro Tang's thigh and getting rich with him. What's there to be proud of? Yu Kai snorted. If Big Bro Tang could give us some tricks to get rich, I'm afraid we would have become billionaires by now. Speaking of Big Bro Tang, where has he been recently? I called him, but his cell phone has been hanging up. I can't find him even if I want to drink with him. Yu Kai, Big Bro Tang has a lot of beauties around him, and each and every one of them is the best, said Yuan Chuling with a smile. If you can invite him to drink with you, I, old Yuan, will follow your lead and recognize you as my big brother. Cough, cough. Yu Kai coughed a few times and raised his hand to touch his nose, covering half of his face with an awkward expression. He was very clear that Tan Xiu never took the initiative to flirt with other women. Because it was always the flowers that took the initiative to throw themselves at him. That luck with women had long made him envious. I'll make a phone call. Yuan Chuling took out his mobile and dialed a number. He then put his mobile back and said, I've already talked to Hansen. Let's gamble one last time at the same place. Whether we win or lose, we will leave Jingmen Island and return to Shanghai. 2 hours later. Just as the three of them left the Venus Hotel and got into a small container truck, Yuan Chuling's cell phone rang. It should be Hansen calling us to hurry us up. Yuan Chuling chuckled as he took out his phone. When he saw the caller ID, he suddenly stood up. Ouch! The pain from hitting his head on the roof of the car made him see stars. After screaming, he sat back on his seat, pressed the answer button and called out, Big Bro Tang, you heartless bastard. Where the hell have you been recently? I've been calling you, but I can't get through to you. Did you forget about these brothers of yours? What the hell are you talking about? Tan Xiu scolded with a smile. I've been quite busy lately, and the place I've been to doesn't have a good cell signal, so I didn't receive your call. But the brothers you mentioned, who else is there besides you? Yu Kai and Hu Qingsong. Yuan Chuling rubbed his head. How did the three of you get together? Tan Xiu was confused. I went to your campus to look for you some time ago, but I couldn't find you. So I played with these two for a few days, said Yuan Chuling. I didn't expect that their temperament and mine would be the same, so we found a common interest and left Shanghai to have fun. That's right, where are you now, Big Bro Tang? We're in Jingmen Island, right? Do you want to fly to us? Tell me the address, I'll go find you, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Address? Yuan Chuling stared blankly for a moment and was surprised. You're also in Jingmen Island? That's right, replied Tan Xiu with a smile. Big Bro Tang, do you know where the 100 Emerald Garden is? Yuan Chuling immediately said. Just use the GPS if you don't know. It's a good place. The three of us have a bet with someone, and we'll be there in half an hour. Hurry up and give us some support. Bet? What do you mean? Tan Xiu curiously asked. I can't explain it in a few words, said Yuan Chuling. You'll know when you come. I'm sure the things we'll play will make your eyes light up. All right. Tan Xiu replied and directly hung up. Quickly. The Yuan Chuling trio took a small container truck and rushed to the 100 Emerald Garden. In a remote corner of the 100 Emerald Garden, more than a dozen youths with 4 or 5 fighting dogs were squatting there and smoking. A youth with white dyed hair and an ear stud said to his companion with a proud look in his eyes. Hansen, we're coming. Yuan Chuling was holding a rope in his hand and leading a big yellow dog as he rushed over. Yu Kai and Hu Qingsong, who were beside him, quickly followed. The young man with dyed white hair, who was also known as Han Sen, threw the cigarette butt on the ground and stamped it out with his foot. Then, he strode forward and said, Fatty Yuan, the three of you won quite a lot of money a few days ago. Today, I must get my revenge. Did you see that fighting dog I just bought? It'll definitely bite your big yellow dog to death. Yuan Chuling rolled his eyes and snorted, Hey, Hansen, you always say the same thing before every match. How many times have you said it? Alright, we're in a hurry. We still have to go back to Shanghai after we win this match. A cold light flashed in Hansen's eyes when he heard this. He turned to look at a yellow-haired youth not far away and found that the other party gently nodded to him. He immediately showed a satisfied smile. He even glanced at the big yellow dog that Yuan Chuling was holding without anyone noticing. Yuan Chuling, how about we play a bigger game this time? We've bet 8 million. If you win, 8 million is yours. But if you lose, you'll lose 8 million to us. How about it? Yuan Chuling was about to speak, but Yu Kai raised his chin and said, let alone 8 million, we can even take out 18 million. But we don't think it's good to win a lot of money every time. How about this, we'll take out 3 million to bet with you. If we win, you'll give us 3 million. If we lose, we'll give you 3 million. Then, we'll stay for a few days and continue gambling with you. All right. Hansen had gambled with Yuan Chuling several times and found that this guy named Yu Kai was very shrewd. Since they had already made up their minds, he didn't want to say more. Quickly. Both of them led their dogs to a cage. Just as Yuan Chuling was about to put the big yellow dog into the cage, 2 black SUVs came from a distance. Big Bro Tang. Yuan Chuling's group of 3 immediately looked pleasantly surprised upon seeing Tan Xiu. After getting off the car, Tan Xiu glanced at the people in front of him. He then walked over and asked, what are you doing? This posture. Are you going to have a dog fight? I don't have any other way to make money, so I can only win some pocket money with a dog. Yuan Chuling grinned and said. Just wait and see, Brother Tang. We'll treat you to a big meal after we win 3 million. Tan Xiu rolled his eyes and turned to look at Yu Kai and Hu Qingsong, saying, what's wrong with you two learning from Yuan Chuling? Why do you have to learn gambling? Stop playing and come with me. Let's get together in Jingmen Island today. I'm going somewhere else early in the morning. Where are you going? Asked Yuan Chuling. Overseas, answered Tan Xiu. Han Sen looked at Yuan Chuling and Tan Xiu's group in a bad mood. If Tan Xiu hadn't brought several burly men with him, he wouldn't have been able to restrain himself. Suddenly, a clear voice came, dog fighting is illegal, Yuan Chuling. You should be arrested, detained, and even sentenced for this kind of behavior. Yuan Chuling looked at Qing Yannan and suddenly looked surprised, saying, old classmate, why did you come with Tan Xiu? Don't tell me you're also. Don't talk nonsense, said Qing Yannan hurriedly. Yuan Chuling rolled his eyes again and snorted, humph, I won't say anything if you don't want to. Everyone is well aware of your matter. Also, even if we're dog fighting, it won't violate the law, right? Even if we did, there's still Big Bro Tang. With his abilities, it would be a piece of cake for him to fish us out. Not far away. Hansen finally couldn't bear it anymore and loudly asked, do you still want to play or not? Hurry up if you want to play. This young master will take the winnings to indulge in debauchery later. Tan Xiu's eyes swept over the dog in Han Sen's hand, and then shifted to the big yellow dog led by Yuan Chuling. He then shook his head and said, no need to compete. Yuan Chuling lost. Yuan Chuling stared blankly and hurriedly asked, Big Bro Tang, even if you lose, don't lose. The game hasn't started yet, how do you know I've lost? Our big yellow dog is an invincible god of war and the hen that laid the golden eggs for us. As Yuan Chuling's voice faded away, Tan Xiu led the big yellow dog to the front of the big iron cage. After sending the big yellow dog inside, he felt a bit helpless. His eyes were like torches, and he could easily see that the big yellow dog's situation was not right. He didn't even need to carefully examine it. He could see that the big yellow dog had been drugged. It was a conspiracy. Tan Xiu was somewhat glad that he had rushed over. Otherwise, Yuan Chuling, Yu Kai, and Hu Qingsong would have been schemed against today. Forget it. I'll just use a little trick to kill the fighting dog when the two dogs start biting each other. Tan Xiu thought inwardly. 2 dogs. They stared at each other inside the big iron cage, as though they were facing a formidable enemy. Suddenly, the fighting dog's ferocious nature broke out and instantly pounced in front of the big yellow dog. The big yellow dog, who had always been very strong, suddenly fell to the ground when it tried to dodge. Chapter 1054. Tan Xiu's eyes were like torches. He could instantly see that the big yellow dog had been drugged. At this time, let alone the ferocious fighting dog, even a small Pekingese would be able to bite it to death. Let's go. Tan Xiu patted Yukai's shoulder and turned toward the off-road vehicle. He had no interest in this kind of child's play. In his eyes, this kind of thing was as meaningless as a child peeing on mud. Yuan Chuling was dumbfounded as he looked at the big yellow dog that was bitten to death in the iron cage. Disbelief flashed in his eyes. Never in his dreams did he think that the gambling match would come to an end in this way. 3 million. Han Sen, who was surrounded by more than a dozen youths, came to Yuan Chuling and hooked his finger. There was a proud look on his face. He looked at Yuan Chuling as if he was looking at a clown. Yuan Chuling turned his head to look at Yu Kai and Hu Qingsong, who were equally stunned. He turned his head back and angrily said, "You cheated." Han Sen disdainfully said, "To catch a thief, one must first catch the stolen goods. Yuan Chuling, don't you dare slander us with empty words. This big yellow dog was brought by you. It suddenly got sick and was killed by my fighting dog. How can it be that we cheated? Are you a sore loser?" Yuan Chuling realized that there was something wrong with this matter, but he was speechless in the face of Han Sen's questioning. Indeed, he had no evidence to prove that Han Sen and the others cheated. Now, he was simply slandering them. "I'll pay." Yuan Chuling didn't care about 3 million. After all, the money he had won during this period was far more than this amount. He felt aggrieved inside. The big yellow dog that had won a lot of money for him was unexpectedly bitten to death in such a cowardly manner. After paying the money, he quickly came to the front of Tan Xiu amidst the ridicule of Han Sen and the others. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "You guys don't do proper work. You even came to Jingmen Island to gamble. If it was before, I really wouldn't have bothered to meddle in your business. You don't care now, do you?" Yuan Chuling was unhappy and couldn't help but mutter. Tan Xiu slightly furrowed his brows and lightly said, "Your big yellow dog was drugged in advance." Moreover, the opponent's calculations were very accurate. He had waited until the medicinal effects had taken effect just now, causing him to lose the ability to fight at the start of the battle. What did this mean? This means that there's something wrong with someone close to you, because it's very difficult for outsiders to get close to your dogs. Traitor! Yuan Chuling, Yu Kai, and Hu Qingsong cried out in unison with shock on their faces. Tan Xiu said indifferently, "You'd better not have such unscrupulous thoughts in the future. You should be glad that the target of the poison this time was just a dog and not you. Otherwise, you would already be a corpse by now. Especially you, Yuan Chuling. You didn't study at Shanghai University, you didn't do your business, and you ran to Jingmen Island to do these things. I don't even have the strength to complain about you." Yuan Chuling awkwardly said, "Big bro Tang, we've been very bored recently, so we ran out to play. Besides, we've decided to gamble again today. Regardless of the outcome, we'll be ready to return to Shanghai. Besides, the business in Shanghai is under the management of the managers, so I don't need to worry too much." Tan Xiu lightly said, "If those managers want to trap you, they can easily trap you to death by joining hands. Believing in others is always better than believing in yourself. The business world is a battlefield. Neglecting one's duty and being careless in the business world is akin to courting death on the battlefield." Yuan Chuling rolled his eyes and defended, "Big bro Tang, aren't you being too alarmist? The business we're doing in partnership is indeed a certain competition with other fitness clubs, but it's unlikely that the outcome you said will happen. Besides, our business is so big that even if those managers are given the courage, they won't dare to mess around." Big business? Tan Xiu felt that it was necessary to give Yuan Chuling a good lesson. After taking out his mobile, he leaned against the car door and dialed a cell number, asking, "Professor Mo, how's the product development going? According to the report you gave me some time ago, the finished product has been produced, right? Didn't Chief Kong tell you? The product has been developed and the effect is amazing. Chief Kong has begun to prepare for the mass production 2 days ago." Mo Yi's voice came from the phone. "I see," said Tan Xiu. He had been staying at the blockade line in the Himalayas for the past few days. Due to the fact that he was injured, his mobile had been thrown into the interspatial ring, so he couldn't receive any signal at all. Even if Kang Xia wanted to find him, it wouldn't be that easy. Tan Xiu dialed Kang Xia's number again. After 2 rings, the call was picked up. Kang Xia, it's me. Kang Xia's grumbling voice came from the phone. I say, big boss, where are you now? Do you know that I've been looking for you for a few days? Every time I called you, I couldn't get through. I called Xiaoxue, but she said that you went to the Himalayas and encountered something important, so I didn't dare to disturb you. It's my fault. Tan Xiu laughed. I didn't give you the number of the communicator due to some special reasons. Is it about the aeroglider? There are 2 things. The first is about the aeroglider, said Kang Xia. After Professor Mo's research day and night, we finally got some results. Also, I've sent people to buy a lot of the raw materials needed for the mass production of the aeroglider, and we're preparing for the mass production. What's the second thing? Asked Tan Xiu. My former mentor, Yabro Rothschild, the younger brother of the Rothschild family's patriarch, said Kang Xia. He specially came to our magnificent Tang Corporation. This time, he wants to establish a cooperative relationship with us. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes. He had heard the legend of this family countless times. It was simply one of the largest and most terrifying families on earth. The wealth they possessed could definitely be described as being as rich as a country. Perhaps, this word was too weak to describe it. Tell me about it. Tan Xiu's tone was very calm. According to Yabro Rothschild, he proposed several ways of cooperation, said Kang Xia. First, to buy the core formulas of all the products of our magnificent Tang Corporation, and the price of each core formula is set at $20 billion. Second, to obtain the agency rights of all the countries in the world. They listed a total of 10 countries, and apart from our magnificent Tang Corporation, they are definitely among the top 10 countries in the world. Third, to fully acquire our magnificent Tang Corporation. Their offer is very high, $120 billion. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, their sincerity is really big. Even I'm a bit moved by this offer. However, the magnificent Tang Corp is the foundation of our development, so it's impossible for them to fully acquire it. As for the other 2, it's even more impossible. If my guess is correct, there should be a 4th one, right? You're wise, boss. Kang Xia praised. The 4th one proposed by Yabro Rothschild is that they will establish a sales network all over the world, including exclusive stores in every country and city, while we provide the products and carry out the most direct cooperation. The ratio of the profits from the sales will be 3:7. Tan Xiu slightly furrowed his brows and indifferently said, 3:7. The 3 of us. The 7 of them. That's right, answered Kang Xia. Their appetite is way too big. Tan Xiu sneered. Don't you agree with this kind of cooperation? Asked Kang Xia after hesitating for a moment. I agree with this kind of cooperation, said Tan Xiu. But the ratio of profits and dividends must be 7:30 for us and 3 for them. Tell Yabro Rothschild that these are my exact words, and I won't change my mind again. You can discuss the specific cooperation with them if they agree. But if they don't agree, tell them to go back to where they came from. There are many big families with strong capital all over the world. If I want to cooperate with others in this way, I'm afraid there will be countless families who will be satisfied and come to discuss with us. All right, then I'll talk to him according to your idea, said Kang Xia with all seriousness. We'll cooperate if he agrees, but forget it if he doesn't. How's the effect of the new employees you've trained? Asked Tan Xiu. According to your order, there are a total of 5,000 new employees. All of them have undergone the most rigorous training and are now ready to work at any time, said Kang Xia with a smile. Furthermore, the second phase of training has already begun, and the results will be good in 3 months at most. By that time, we'll have 10,000 reserve employees. Although there's still a big gap between us and the world business stage that we're about to open, we'll have enough manpower in a short period of time. We'll recruit 4 phases of employees every year, with 5,000 people in each phase, said Tan Xiu. We'll train 20,000 employees a year. Even if Yabro Rothschild agrees to the dividend amount, our company's employees must be in the exclusive stores all over the world. Furthermore, we must be in charge of the financial aspect. I think they'll agree, said Kang Xia with a smile. Where does your confidence come from? Asked Tan Xiu curiously. The Rothschild family runs many of the world's largest banks, said Kang Xia with a smile. Once our company's products enter the world market, the amount of funds in circulation will be enormous. I'm sure that their family will never turn down such a big resource. Tan Xiu suddenly understood. His mind moved and a thought quickly sprouted inside his mind. But a few seconds later, he suppressed the idea and sighed inwardly. The present capital is still too little, and there's no way to compare with those world-class financial tycoons. Otherwise, I can establish the world's largest banking system and control most of the world's capital chain. Then, I'll be below one person and above hundreds of millions of people. Kang Xia, I'll return to 9 Dragons Island first. Keep in touch with me at all times. Once you've negotiated with Yabro Rothschild, inform me immediately regardless of the result. If they agree, I'll return to Star City in the near future, said Tan Xiu. Chapter 1055. After hanging up the phone, Tan Xiu subconsciously lit up a cigarette and thought about something in silence. He was definitely a person who regarded money as dirt, but he needed a lot of cultivation resources, and the most direct way to obtain them was to buy them with money. The magnificent Tang Corporation was about to open its money-making mode, and the newly developed product was the Aeroglider. Tan Xiu had a slight headache. He had painstakingly researched it and must use it to make money, but he didn't know whether the military could absorb all the production. I'll take it one step at a time. After thinking for a long while, Tan Xiu then looked at Yuan Chuling and the others in front of him. He sincerely hoped that these classmates and brothers could have a promising future, but he didn't plan to teach them cultivation techniques. The path of cultivation was full of thorns, and there was always the danger of falling at any time. Instead of making them risk their lives for cultivation, it was better to let them live a comfortable life for the rest of their lives. Immediately after, Tang Xiu dialed a number again. After the other party picked up, he said, I'll be waiting for you at the Everlasting Feast Hall in Jingmen Island at 6:00 tomorrow evening. The big deal we talked about before can be completed. What kind of deal? Duan Mulin's voice came out of the phone. An aircraft, said Tan Xiu. I'll be there at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, said Duan Mulin in a deep voice. After hanging up the phone, Tan Xiu looked at them and said, Don't rush back to Shanghai yet. I'll take you there tomorrow evening to see what a big business deal is. Yuan Chuling, Yu Kai, and Hu Qingsong exchanged glances and secretly looked forward to it. They all knew that Tan Xiu's business was very big. The magnificent Tang Corporation was simply a money-making machine that could be compared to a bank's money-printing machine if it were to be operated. In the past, Tan Xiu had never let them see the scene of a business deal. But now, it seemed that he was finally going to show them his muscles because of their unscrupulous behavior. They couldn't help but look forward to it. As the saying goes, one is marked by the company one keeps. In the past, they did not have any lofty ambitions. Although they had fantasized about building a great career in the future, it was still just a fantasy. In the blink of an eye, they laughed at themselves and stopped daydreaming. But ever since they got to know Tan Xiu, they saw an unparalleled sharpness in Tan Xiu. Because of this, they didn't realize that under Tan Xiu's subtle influence, they also had expectations for the future and worked hard to plant a seed for their dreams in their hearts. Very soon, Tan Xiu then took Yuan Chuling's group to the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ on Jingmen Island. He sent some people to settle Yuan Chuling's group of 3 and then directly left with Cheng Yannan. In the spacious and bright room, Tan Xiu lit a cigarette and walked to the window to look at the lush greenery outside. He saw many guests scattered around, enjoying their leisure time. Cheng Yannan, have you ever thought about what you want to do in the future? With his back facing Cheng Yannan, Tan Xiu slowly asked as he puffed out a mouthful of smoke. Standing behind Tan Xiu, Qing Yannan had a complicated expression on her face. She knew Tan Xiu back then because Tan Xiu was kicked out of another class and transferred to her class. Originally, she didn't like Tan Xiu and even somewhat hated him. She felt that Tan Xiu, this rat shit, would affect all the other students in the class. However, Tan Xiu's achievements today were enough to make her look up to him. She even learned some things about Tan Xiu, only to find that she was simply blind at that time. It seemed that no one in the world was more outstanding than Tan Xiu. In the future, she had never considered this problem before, because she had even thought of committing suicide before. It was Tan Xiu who gave her a chance and also gave her hope. She didn't have much to worry about now, and her days were also very comfortable. At this time, after Tan Xiu's inquiry, she began to consider her future life. I don't know. Qing Yannan was silent for a long time before she shook her head with a wry smile. Helping Tan Xiu manage the medicinal herb plantation and fierce beasts in the 2 islands in the South China Sea should only be temporary. But she was at a loss as to what to do in the future. Since you don't know, why don't you let me arrange your future for you? Tan Xiu slowly said. Qing Yannan stared blankly and asked with a puzzled expression, how will you arrange it for me? I'm afraid you can guess what I'm going to do, said Tan Xiu. You've probably seen what kind of people I have under me. If you hadn't become an ability user, maybe I would have let you live a peaceful life for the rest of your life, find a man you like, marry him, and have a few children to spend the rest of your life. But now, you're no longer an ordinary person, so I think your life should be more exciting. Of course, the danger involved is also very big. It's up to you what to choose. Qing Yannan thought for a while and asked, I want to know my big sis's life goal in the future. Do you want to arrange it? Tan Xiu nodded and said, your big sis is a strong woman and also a very capable one. Since she knows some things about me, she can no longer simply belong to the country. I once asked her if she wants to be stronger and have a more exciting life, and I was very satisfied with her answer. She wants to. Since my big sis is willing to let you arrange her future life, then I'm also willing, said Qing Yannan bluntly. My big sis is the closest person in my heart. Since she wants to walk a different path, I don't want her to fight alone. I want to be with her. Tan Xiu turned around and gave a thumbs up to Qing Yannan and praised, you're worthy to be Qing Xuemei's younger sister and my old classmate. You weren't even afraid of death back then, so I knew you'd make such a choice now. I'll inform the person in charge of the 2 islands in the South China Sea to temporarily transfer you away. You'll go to 9 Dragons Island with me tomorrow after I'm done with the business. I'll give you 3 months of training. If you can complete the first stage of the training after 3 months, I'll let you return to the 2 islands in the South China Sea. Where's 9 Dragons Island? Asked Qing Yannan curiously. You're not a real disciple of the Tang sect yet, so you're not qualified to know where it is, said Tan Xiu slowly. I'll allow you to join the Tang sect as long as you can smoothly embark on the path of cultivation within 3 months and complete the first stage of the training. You'll know some confidential matters there. Qing Yannan decided to hand the rest of her life to Tan Xiu and no longer cared about the confidential matters. She was just a bit surprised because she could tell from Tan Xiu's words that he wanted her, an ability user, to practice Taoist cultivation arts and become a cultivator. Are cultivators more powerful than ability users, Tan Xiu? Qing Yannan hesitated for a moment, but she still asked about the curiosity in her heart. Tan Xiu couldn't help but chuckle. Ability users are just people who have obtained some kind of superpower, and the ability they can display is also the superpower. Cultivators, on the other hand, are different. Cultivators can summon the wind and summon the rain, chase the sun, moon, and stars, and even control the changes in the environment and time when they reach a certain level. It's not impossible for them to fly and traverse the universe. Bah, you're just bragging. Qing Yannan looked disdainful and said, do you think cultivators are immortals? Traversing the universe? If cultivators are so powerful, they can become the masters of Earth. Tan Xiu turned his head and looked at her with a faint smile. Give me a few more years. I can easily become the master of the entire earth if I want to, and any human can only kneel before me. Cultivators are far more powerful than you can imagine. It's not impossible for you to break the shackles of this world and ascend to the immortal world to become an immortal when your cultivation gets stronger. Qing Yannan was at a loss whether she had to cry or laugh. Hey, Tan Xiu, have you read too many xianxia novels? Or have you been brainwashed by those xianxia movies? If cultivators are really that powerful, I'm afraid everyone can become an immortal by cultivating. Whoosh! Tan Xiu didn't use his mouth to answer Qing Yannan, but directly used his actions to prove it. He dashed to Qing Yannan's side in an instant, reached out to hug her slender waist and instantly disappeared from the room. The next moment, he appeared a kilometer high in the sky with Qing Yannan in his arms. Even though Qing Yannan had become an ability user and had a bit of knowledge, she was still scared and screamed again and again. Don't scream like a ghost. Be careful not to damage the cat. Tan Xiu looked down at the ground and quietly took out 2 invisibility charms from his interspatial ring and quickly put them on the 2 of them. Nowadays, technology was very advanced and there were satellites monitoring the sky. He didn't want the scene of him hugging a woman and standing a kilometer high in the sky to be captured by the satellites. Qing Yannan finally calmed down from her fear. Her eyes stared wide and looked a bit nervous. She carefully observed the scene in all directions and asked with a trembling voice, how did you do it? Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, haven't you seen me in action before? Now we're just flying higher than before, yet you're scared. Qing Yannan gulped and said with lingering fear, it's unbelievable. I didn't expect that even Superman is not as good as you. Could it be that you've cultivated to the immortal realm? I still have a long way to go to become an immortal. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, I can only be regarded as a somewhat powerful cultivator. As for becoming a deity, I'm afraid it will take a long time. Alright, let's go back. Having said that, Qing Yannan only felt that the world was spinning before she returned to the spacious and bright room. She rubbed her eyes and secretly pinched her waist. She felt a burning pain and finally confirmed that she wasn't dreaming. At this moment, Qing Yannan looked at Tan Xiu with eyes full of worship. She suddenly felt that it was a wise decision to let Tan Xiu arrange her future life path. It would be a great feeling if she could become as strong as him in the future. I also want to become a cultivator. I want to be able to fly in the sky easily like you, Qing Yannan clenched her fists and firmly said. Chapter 1056. The setting sun hung on the western horizon, and the sky was filled with red clouds like slowly flowing blood. Even though it was already October, the weather in Jingmen Island was still a bit hot. 6:00 in the evening. 2 black Audi cars slowly entered the Everlasting Feast Hall. The person in charge of the Everlasting Feast Hall quickly greeted them and brought Duanmu Lin and the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau to the restaurant's VIP lounge. Fragrant tea and fruits. As the waiters and waitresses brought these things and then left, Tan Xiu came in from the outside with a smile on his face. Behind him were Yuan Chuling, Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong, and Qing Yannan, who came to watch the fun. Senior Duanmu, I apologize for not coming out to greet you. Tan Xiu came to Duanmu Lin with a smile. He watched him get up from the sofa and shook hands with him. Then, he shook hands with the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau. Duanmu Lin's eyes then swept over Yuan Chuling's group of 4 behind Tan Xiu and smilingly said, Who are they, Tan Xiu? They're just here to join in the fun, Senior Duanmu. You don't need to pay attention to them, Tan Xiu smilingly said. The reason why I brought them here is to let them see what a big business is. A look of surprise appeared on Duanmu Lin's face. He knew Tang Xiu quite well and knew that Tang Xiu always had a deep purpose in doing things. Bringing these young people here was probably not just to let them see some big business. However, since Tang Xiu had said so, he wouldn't drive them out. As they took their seats, he smilingly asked, Since you've developed the aircraft, why don't you let me have a look at it before we trade? Tan Xiu clapped his hands and smilingly said, "Come on in." Immediately, Kang Xia, who was waiting outside the door, walked into the hall with a black suitcase. She had rushed to Jingmen Island early this morning and personally brought the aero glider she had developed. "Kang Xia, take out the aircraft and show it to Senior Duanmu," said Tan Xiu with a smile. Kang Xia faintly smiled and put the black suitcase on the tea table in front of Duanmu Lin and several high-level members of the Special Abilities Bureau. After 2 unlocking processes, the black suitcase was opened by her and inside was an oblate frisbee with 2 footprints on its surface. "Senior Duanmu, this is a high-tech product developed by our magnificent Tang Corporation. We originally named it Aero Glider, but Tan Xiu felt that the name was too unsophisticated, so he directly named it Hectometer Aero Glider," said Kang Xia with a smile. Duanmu Lin personally took the drone out of the black suitcase and held it in his hand to carefully observe it. The higher-ups of the Special Abilities Bureau also came over to study the uniqueness of this thing. Unfortunately, after studying it for more than 10 minutes, they still couldn't figure it out. "Chief Kang, can you give us a detailed introduction of its functions? It's best to demonstrate it to us if possible," said Duanmu Lin. Kang Xia faintly smiled and said, "I'll give you a detailed introduction first. As for the demonstration, we need to go to an open place outside. After all, there are many guests in this restaurant and it's easy to attract others' attention. I think Senior Duanmu also doesn't want the news about the Hectometer Aero Glider to be easily leaked out, right?" "That's right. Please keep it a secret," said Duanmu Lin hurriedly. This Hectometer Aero Glider is a high-tech product developed by a large number of researchers, geomancers, and even some people from the occult sect. Kang Xia smiled. "We've invested a lot of manpower, material resources, and financial resources to develop it. It was oblate in shape, just like the shield held by the captain of the American team in the American blockbuster. However, on its surface, there were 2 concave layers, which were made according to the size of the feet standing on it. I have a switch in my hand with 2 buttons on it, one for start and the other for stop. When a person stands on the Hectometer Aero Glider, 2 buckles will extend out from both sides of the 2 concave layers and directly fix the feet on it to ensure the safety of the user. Additionally, it adopts the gravity of space and has a great anti-gravitational system. It's also equipped with sensing equipment and array patterns that cultivators are proficient in. With the combination of these, the user can step on it and fly in the air. The Hectometer Aero Glider is equipped with sensors that can sense the surrounding environment, just like the ultrasonic waves unique to bats. If there's an obstacle ahead, it will automatically plan the route even if the user doesn't react in time to ensure the user's safety. We've also developed an energy battery inside it. Each energy battery can ensure that the aero glider can fly for 100 kilometers. When the internal power is exhausted, the battery needs to be replaced and continued to be used. Customers who buy the Hectometer Aero Glider will get 2 energy batteries for free from the magnificent Tang Corporation. It also has another special function. Not only can it fly in the sky, but it can also row on the water surface. When the user stands on it, he can control the Hectometer Aero Glider to travel quickly on the calm water surface. It can even reduce the power consumption. Having said that, Kang Xia turned her head to glance at Tan Xiu. She saw a smile on his face and was very satisfied with her explanation, which immediately made her feel warm inside. Then, she faced Duanmu Lin and the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau and continued, "We set the price of each Hectometer Aero Glider at 2 million renminbi, and each battery is 200 renminbi. As for the material used to produce the Aero Glider, we've adopted the latest high-tech hybrid material. This material is extremely strong, almost comparable to the hardness of diamonds. Therefore, it has a very long lifespan and can guarantee that it won't malfunction within a range of 200,000 kilometers. As long as it's not deliberately damaged, there will be absolutely no problem." Duanmu Lin and the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau looked shocked. After hearing Kang Xia's explanation just now, they were keenly aware that the technology of this Hectometer Aero Glider was definitely far beyond the world's top technology. If its effect was really as Kang Xia said, then this thing was simply an excellent technological product. It could even become a milestone in the history of mankind toward a higher level of technology. They also realized that once this hectometer aeroglider was used in the military, it would be an excellent combat equipment for the soldiers in the army. Every soldier would have the hope to become a superhuman. They even began to imagine the scene when this aeroglider was equipped in the army. Tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, or even millions of soldiers would be equipped with it and fly in the sky in a formation. Additionally, if this aeroglider were to be popularized to the general public, it would probably immediately win the hearts and minds of people all over the world. Its emergence could even replace luxury cars, airplanes, and ships, becoming the world's most advanced means of transportation. Speed. I want to know its speed. Duanmu Lin stared at Kang Xia with an expectant look in his eyes. Its top speed is 100 kilometers per hour, said Kang Xia with a smile. Senior Duanmu, you should be well aware that we actually have the ability to increase its speed. But if the speed is too fast, problems will arise, and the consumption of the energy battery won't be able to keep up. Duanmu Lin's breathing turned rapid. A top speed of 100 kilometers per hour was already far beyond his expectation. However, it would be better if this aeroglider could go faster. Chief Kang, I want to know how long it will take for your magnificent Tang Corporation to start producing the upgraded version after the launch of this aeroglider. You should have some ideas about the upgraded version, and I want to know the effect of the upgraded version, said Duanmu Lin quickly. Kang Xia turned to look at Tan Xiao with a hesitant look on her face. This was the group's technological secret, and she was absolutely unwilling to disclose it to anyone without Tan Xiao's permission. Senior Duanmu, Kang Xia once reported this issue to me, said Tan Xiao with a faint smile. I can tell you if you really want to know now. The speed of this hectometer aeroglider can be doubled in half a year at most, and the energy battery can also last for 200 kilometers per hour? Duanmu Lin's breathing turned rapid, and his eyes turned particularly bright. Half a minute later, he slowly said, I only have 3 questions left now. If these 2 questions can satisfy me, I'll order a lot of the hectometer aeroglider developed by you. Senior Duanmu, let's not talk about those 3 questions first. Tan Xiao let out a faint smile and said, Can you represent the military to discuss this deal with me? I have an imperial sword in my hand, said Duanmu Lin in a deep voice. Tan Xiao's eyes instantly lit up as he nodded and said, If so, please tell me the 3 questions, Senior Duanmu. I'm sure you'll get a satisfactory answer. When the user uses the hectometer aeroglider, they need to fly at a high altitude. How high can it fly? Asked Duanmu Lin. The highest altitude is 200 meters, answered Tan Xiao. I can accept this height, said Duanmu Lin with satisfaction. The second question is, when the user uses the hectometer aeroglider to fly at a high altitude, the wind will inevitably affect the user. You should know that the wind will have a very serious impact on the user if they are directly exposed to the outside. What I want to know is, how do you solve this problem? Tan Xiao smiled and gestured to Kang Xia, hinting her to explain. When the user uses the hectometer aeroglider, a transparent energy shield will appear. It has a very strong ventilation effect and can even protect the user's body. Even if the user encounters objects or birds at a high altitude, it can block all of them. Unless someone shoots with a gun, otherwise the user will never be hurt. Kang Xia said with a smile. Energy shield. Duanmu Lin suddenly got up with a horrified expression on his face. He never dreamed that Kang Xia would give him such an answer. Chapter 1057. Duanmu Lin had watched a lot of foreign blockbusters, and this kind of futuristic energy shield was definitely something he coveted. It would definitely play a vital role if this kind of energy shield were to be used in the military. For example, if 2 armies were to fight, they could definitely avoid a lot of bloodshed and deaths with the energy shield protection. Using this kind of high-tech technology on a small aircraft was simply a reckless waste of God's gift. Duanmu Lin turned to look at Tan Xiao and stared at Tan Xiao's calm face. Then, he asked in a deep voice, Did you get this technology from the 3-star vestige, Tan Xiao? I did get some technological content from the 3-star vestige, Senior Duanmu. Tan Xiu shook his head. But it definitely doesn't include the energy shield. You should have seen the array I've arranged before. Once the array is activated, it will form an energy shield, and the hectometer aeroglider has an array inside it. So when the hectometer aeroglider is activated, it's equal to activating the defensive array and forming an energy shield. Don't tell me you didn't realize it. An energy battery can only run for 100 kilometers. Duanmu Lin suddenly understood. But he still couldn't figure out Tan Xiu's last question, so he asked, "What did you realize?" "The energy battery's consumption," Tan Xiu said helplessly. Without the energy shield's consumption, an energy battery can make the hectometer aeroglider fly for at least 500 kilometers, maybe even farther. Duanmu Lin immediately understood and nodded. "What you said makes sense. I've done some research on arrays recently and found that most of the materials needed to arrange them are jades." "Does that mean that jades also contain energy?" "That's right," said Tan Xiu. Duanmu Lin gave a thumbs up to Tan Xiu and praised, "You actually used this kind of cultivation content in a technological product." I, Duanmu Lin, can only use the word admire to describe it." "You're a genius, Tan Xiu. You're definitely a genius that surpasses everyone else." "You're flattering me, Senior Duanmu." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. "Tell me your third question." Duanmu Lin said, "Will the upgraded version of the hectometer aeroplane have more functions?" "If you can satisfy me with this last question, I can sign a contract with you right now." Tan Xiu and Kang Xia exchanged glances. When Kang Xia was about to speak, Tan Xiu slightly raised his hand to stop her and said, "I can assure you that the upgraded version of the hectometer aeroglider will have at least one more function." "What kind?" Duanmu Lin asked impatiently. Tan Xiu said solemnly, "Invisibility." "What?" Duanmu Lin was frightened by Tan Xiu's words. Invisibility was equivalent to being invisible. If anyone in this world could be invisible, it would be too terrifying. Tan Xiu said, "However, we are not going to sell this invisible aircraft because its function is too terrifying. If it is used by some bad guys, it will cause great harm." Duanmu Lin was relieved, and his heart was burning with passion. If the 100-mile flying device could become invisible, it would definitely not be any worse than a godly weapon. In the future, if the soldiers of China activated stealth mode and fought against the enemy, they would definitely be able to one-sidedly slaughter the enemy. After all, the enemy couldn't see him, but he could clearly see the enemy. Even when he was right in front of the enemy wouldn't notice. That effect, Duanmu Lin shot a deep look at Tan Xiu and said, "I believe in your character and your guarantee. Tan Xiu, if your magnificent Tang Corp develops a stealth hectometer aeroglider, you must never sell it to anyone or any force other than the Chinese National Security Agency. Otherwise, the strategic structure of the entire world would undergo earth-shattering changes. And this kind of change will bring huge hidden dangers to the various countries." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Don't worry, I know what to do. Also, even if I sell it to the Chinese military, the quantity won't be too much, because this kind of invisibility function requires me to do it myself. My time is limited, so I can only sell 100 to the Chinese military at most." "That's enough." Duanmu Lin nodded in satisfaction. "Then, can we sign the contract now?" asked Tan Xiu with a smile. "If my guess is correct, you should have already prepared the contract," said Duanmu Lin. "Take it out and let us have a look. If we think there's no problem, we can sign the contract now." Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and gestured to Kang Xia. The latter immediately dialed a number and a senior executive of the magnificent Tang Corp came in with 2 contracts. Tan Xiu didn't rush and calmly waited for Duanmu Lin and the other senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau to finish reading the contract. "The contract is fine. The quantity isn't filled in, so it should be reserved for us, right?" Duanmu Lin smiled and said. "Of course, I also need to know how big the order our country can place." Tan Xiu nodded. "If it's too small, I'll have to promote the aero glider to the people. After all, we're investing in the research and development, and the manpower, material, and financial resources are huge. If it's too small, we won't be able to generate profits and may even suffer losses. I need to go out and make a phone call. Duanmu nodded. Please do as you wish, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Duanmu got up and left the hall with the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau. Not far away, on the high-end leather sofa, Yuan Chuling, Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong, and even Qing Yan Nan, who had a special ability, were all dumbfounded and had yet to sober up from the shock. Shock. Unparalleled shock. In the past, they thought that the magnificent Tang Corp only had a few kinds of products, such as cosmetics, nutritional products, or fine wine like God's nectar. But now, the conversation between Tan Xiu and Duanmu made them realize that the magnificent Tang Corp also had other products, and this product was simply terrifying. It was an aero glider. It was something that could only be seen in science fiction novels and sci-fi movies. The level of science and technology was at least decades ahead of the modern technology, and even hundreds of years ahead of it. Tan Xiu looked at the four people and a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He coughed twice and smilingly asked, "Are you scared out of your wits? Did you realize that what I'm doing is a big deal?" Yuan Chuling's family was inextricably linked with the military, and his father had developed technological weapons and sold them to the military. Therefore, he was the first among the four to sober up. However, when he looked at Tang Xiu, aside from the deep shock in his eyes, there was also an indescribable complicated expression. "You shouldn't have brought us here, eldest brother." Yuan Chuling took a deep breath and forced a smile. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and asked, "Have you realized it?" Yuan Chuling nodded and said, "We're fools if we still can't realize it. This is the core secret of your magnificent Tang Corp and also a state secret. Big Bro Tang, even if you trust us, you shouldn't have brought us here." Realized it? Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong, and Qing Yan Nan, who had just sobered up from the shock, cursed Yuan Chuling inwardly at the same time. They didn't realize the situation just now, and now Yuan Chuling clearly said that they were fools. "I believe you, not only because of your characters, but also because I believe that you won't dare to spread this matter out," said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. "Senior Duanmu is a state personnel, and a very special one at that. If you dare to spread this matter out, it's tantamount to betraying the state's top secret. Not only will you be court-martialed, but you'll also be shot to death." Hiss, Yuan Chuling's group of four gasped cold air at the same time. "All right, just keep this matter deep in your heart." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "It won't be long. My magnificent Tang Corp will announce the hectometer aero glider to the public in a year at most. At that time, we will also sell it to customers all over the world." The four immediately felt relieved after hearing it. Immediately after, they looked excited. If the magnificent Tang Corp sold the hectometer aero glider to the public, wouldn't it mean that they could also buy it? Everyone had the dream of flying. They were all ordinary people, so they were naturally no exception. They looked at the hectometer aero glider on the tea table and began to fantasize that they would be able to step on the hectometer aero glider and fly freely like birds in the air of the island in the near future. Half an hour later, Duanmu and the top executives of the Special Abilities Bureau returned to the hall with a bit of joy on their faces. After taking a seat, Duanmu said, "Tan Xiu, the big boss wants me to pass a message to you." Tan Xiu's expression slightly changed and he nodded with a solemn expression. "What is it?" "If you want to fully operate the hectometer aero glider and sell it to the public, you must develop the upgraded product first," said Duanmu. "Our country must master the most advanced aero glider, at least much more advanced than the ones in the ordinary market." "No problem." Tan Xiu nodded happily. "If you want to buy the product in our country, the magnificent Tang Corp will be in charge of the sales and the state won't participate," said Duanmu again. "But if you want to sell the product all over the world, are you willing to cooperate with the state? You should know how big the impact will be once this product is promoted all over the world. Having the state backing you is the biggest guarantee for your magnificent Tang Corporation. Tan Xiu was shaken inwardly and asked in a deep voice, "What does the state want?" "The big boss wants us to have the price starting from the upgraded version," said Duanmu Lin with a smile. "Of course, the state will also greatly support all the businesses of your magnificent Tang Corp in the country. We will also give you all kinds of preferential policies." Deal. Tan Xiu was very satisfied with the proposal and agreed without hesitation. "Then, let's sign the contract." Duanmu Lin said with a smile, "Our first order is 10,000 aerogliders. And 1 million energy batteries. Once you send the goods to us, the money will be immediately transferred to your private account. Asking for monthly votes on the last day." Chapter 1058. Tan Xiu and Kang Xia glanced at each other. They were secretly satisfied with the quantity of the order. It must be known that the unit price of the hectometer aircrafts was 2 million renminbi, and 10,000 of them would be 20 billion renminbi. The unit price of the battery was 200 yuan, and 1 million yuan would be 200 million renminbi. How much was the investment required to develop the 100-kilometer flying machine? Tan Xiu laughed inwardly. He had only given MOE and the technology team a total of 200 million in research and development funds. According to Kang Xia, not even half of the 200 million yuan was used. Furthermore, this was just the beginning. The real time to make money was when the 100-kilometer flying device was sold to the general public. At that time, countless people, countries, and factions would fight to buy it. When that time came, he would definitely earn an unimaginable amount of wealth. Thinking up to this point, Tan Xiu then looked at Duanmu Lin and said, "Senior Duanmu, after the hectometer aeroglider is developed, not only will our magnificent Tang Corp give a 50% discount to the country, I'm also willing to donate 20% of the worldwide sales profits to our country." Duanmu Lin took a deep look at Tan Xiu. After a long time, he raised his thumb and praised, "I won't say too many words of gratitude. In the future, when the hectometer aeroplane is sold to the whole world, it will depend on the support from the country." "All right." Tan Xiu nodded heavily. In fact, he was very clear that if it was an ordinary person or some super-rich person who had a heaven-defying product like the hectometer aircraft, it would definitely be controlled by the country. It was very likely that the country would even take it for itself. After all, the profits involved were extremely terrifying. Even a country would not be able to remain indifferent. However, he was not an ordinary person, and the country did not dare to be tough with him. In this era, in this world, it was still the fist that made the most sense. Tan Xiu looked at Kang Xia and said in a deep voice, "After the Hector aeroplane is sold all over the world, 10% of the profits will be used for charity. Build schools, build hospitals, help all the needy people in the country. No matter how much we earn, this 10% cannot be less." Kang Xia looked at Tan Xiu with eyes full of admiration and love. She knew the heart of this man in front of her. He was very ruthless towards his enemies, but in fact, the deepest part of his heart was occupied by kindness. She could even imagine what a huge amount it would be to take out 10% of the profits from the Hector aircraft. However, he still made up his mind. She could imagine how many people would benefit in the future just because this 10% profit was used for charity. That was a number. It was absolutely terrifying. The way Duanmu Lin looked at Tan Xiu also changed slightly. In the past, Tan Xiu had medical ethics and a bit of kindness. But now, Tang Xiu's decision would change the fate of countless poor people. This was a righteous and benevolent decision. After signing the contract, Duanmu Lin and the top executives of the Special Abilities Bureau didn't stay any longer. They didn't even stay for dinner and left Jingmen Island in a hurry. Dinner. Tan Xiu, Kang Xia, Yuan Chuling, and the other two stayed in the hall to take the medicine. As they ate and drank to their heart's content, the shock on Yuan Chuling's group completely disappeared. Tan Xiu ordered the waiter to remove the leftovers and replaced it with fragrant tea. Then, he lit a cigarette. "Yuan Chuling, Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong. Do you three now understand what a big business is?" asked Tan Xiu with a smile. Yuan Chuling's lips squirmed as he forced a smile and said, "Yes, I do." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "Actually, today's deal is just one of the magnificent Tang Corporation's deals. It's not a big deal, at least in my eyes. It's because the amount of money earned by the magnificent Tang Corporation is beyond your imagination. My deals with the country and some bosses are sometimes bigger than today's. You three are my classmates and also my brothers. Yet, you came to Jingmen Island to fight dogs for such a small amount of money. How do you feel about that?" Yuan Chuling let out a hollow laugh and said, "Big bro Tang, if I say that I feel good about myself, you'll definitely slap me in the face. To tell you the truth, the one I admire the most is my dad. After all, he can conquer the country with his bare hands and earns so much money. He's already a very powerful figure. But now, you're my biggest idol. I guarantee that I'll definitely look up to you in the future. I'll work hard and do my best to earn big money." "Big bro Tang, old Yuan's words are exactly what I want to say," said Yu Kai. "I'll never slack off in the future. Also, I'll seriously consider my future path. Although I've said thank you many times, I don't want to say it again this time. There are some words that I'll keep in my heart." Hu Qingsong scratched the back of his head and let out a hollow laugh. "Big bro Tang, Hu Qingsong, don't have such great ability, nor do I have such a big dream. However, you've really given me a big shock today. Let me ask you something. Do you still want a little brother to serve you tea? If you want me to serve you in bed, I'm willing to do it." "Fuck off." Tan Xiu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh as he cursed and said, "Old Yuan, you have your father's business and you're bound to take over it in the future, so you have to choose your own path. Yu Kai, your family is also a businessman, so I won't say anything more. When you take over your father's business in the future, the magnificent Tang Corporation can cooperate with your family in many aspects. We'll make money together." All right. Yuan Chuling and Yu Kai nodded without a word. Hu Qingsong rolled his eyes and said with dissatisfaction, "What about me, Big Bro Tang?" "You and Xue Chao will work for me in the future," said Tan Xiu with a smile. "Don't worry. I believe that those who work for me can also become billionaires." "That's a good idea." Hu Qingsong's eyes lit up and he excitedly rubbed his hands. "Don't be too happy yet. I have my own standards when it comes to hiring people. At the very least, you must have the ability." Tan Xiu said with a smile. "Since you don't want to study at Shanghai University, then you can work and study at the same time. Kang Xia, arrange for this brat to go to a company in Shanghai for an internship. Let him start from the bottom and give him all the hard and tiring work. Be sure to train him into an outstanding leader before he graduates from the university." "No problem." Kang Xia nodded with a smile. She was happy to see that Tan Xiu had arranged these students in such a way. It showed that Tan Xiu didn't look down on Yuan Chuling and the others because of his ability and current status. It showed that he was a real man who attached great importance to friendship and righteousness. Hu Qingsong didn't say anything more, but his heart was full of emotions. He was very confused about his future path. Even if he received a big stimulation today, it was not easy for him to establish a great career. At the very least, he didn't have much capital. He could feel Tan Xiu's sincerity. He also knew that Tan Xiu was a brother who attached great importance to friendship and righteousness. Not to mention himself, Tang Xiu had helped Xue Chao a lot in the matter regarding Xue Chao. Late at night, Tan Xiu hugged Kang Xia's slender waist and stood quietly by the window. He looked at the dim street lights outside and the swaying shadows of the trees. His heart was particularly tranquil. "Are you going to Shanghai? Or are you going back to Star City?" Tan Xiu gently whispered to Kang Xia's ear. "I want to go to Nine Dragons Island with you the most," said Kang Xia softly. "If you really want to go with me, then go," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "Arrange the work at hand and give yourself a vacation. Your words are enough." Kang Xia smiled and said, our magnificent Tang Corporation is in the harvest season now, so I need to stay in Star City to keep an eye on it. Also, the construction progress in Shanghai is very fast. After investing a lot of money, it's like 3 shifts of continuous construction. According to this progress, the headquarters, an industrial park in Shanghai, can be built before the end of next year. Once our industrial park is built and put into use, Tan Xiu said with a smile. At that time, our magnificent Tang Corporation can really start to crazily make money. I don't think it's good for you to occupy too much of your time. You and Andy are going to look for a successor. I hope you can devote more time to cultivation in the future. Isn't it too early now? Kang Xia hesitated. Our magnificent Tang Corporation has been established for only a year and a half. Besides, the company is currently developing rapidly. If Andy and I are to hand over our work, I'm afraid. What I mean is that you're going to look for a successor, not handing over your work immediately. Tan Xiu said with a smile. At the very least, you have to train them into confidence and trustworthy people. You also need to train their working ability as well as their understanding of the magnificent Tang Corporation. All in all, it will take about a year and a half. Or, wait until the HQ and industrial park in Shanghai are completely built and you have completely stabilized there, then you can let them go. I got it. Kang Xia nodded. Don't worry. Andy and I won't affect our cultivation. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and said, I actually want to hug you and sleep peacefully, but time is too tight. I need to rush to 9 Dragons Island overnight. Alright, have a good rest now. It won't be long before I come back. I'll find some time to accompany you when the time comes. Half an hour later. The Tang sect's disciples boarded their vehicles and quickly arrived at a port in Jingmen Island. The liner set sail and quickly disappeared into the dark sea. This time, the route did not lead directly to Saipan. Many forces were annoyed by the news released by the Celestial Wizard clan, but they still left in the end despite the fact that China helped to spread the news. However, there were still some forces who didn't believe it and still sent some people to Saipan to investigate the situation. They even sent a liner to search in the Pacific Ocean. They returned to 9 Dragons Island. Tan Xiu immediately ordered the reorganization and issued a batch of cultivation resources. Just as Tan Xiu finished his work and was about to go see Gu Yan, Jin Shi came back from the outside, looking travel-worn. To Tan Xiu's surprise, Jin Shi came back with scars all over his body. The several Tang sect disciples he brought with him were even more seriously injured. They would have died outside if it weren't for the holy healing pills they carried with them. Chapter 1059. Inside the majestic palace, Tan Xiu strode into the luxuriously decorated conference room and looked at Jin Shi, who was covered in scars. A chilling light flashed in his eyes as he asked in a deep voice, "What happened?" Jin Shi struggled to get up from the chair and bitterly said, "We were ambushed by a group of unknown people. They are very powerful and numerous." "You haven't figured out their origins?" asked Tan Xiu with a frown. "They suddenly appeared and directly attacked us. They didn't give us any time to figure it out." Jin Shi shook his head. "However, I can tell from their means that they are not normal humans. They are more like genetic warriors." Tan Xiu lit up a cigarette and said, "I may have guessed their origins." Jin Shi stared blankly and asked in astonishment, "You guessed their origins, sect master? How is that possible? You didn't even see them." Tan Xiu raised his hand to interrupt him and calmly said, "Do you still remember the mind-gathering technology in Demonic City? That's Xie Jiqiang who researches genetic drugs?" "I do." Jin Shi nodded. The one who traded with Xie Jiqiang in Demonic City was called Austin Cole, who belonged to the SOE Corporation, Tan Xiu said. This company is a drug and medical equipment business on the surface, but it's actually a very mysterious arms trading company in Europe. Austin Cole was the 3rd top executive in the SOE Corporation and controlled half of its armed forces. Although he died in Demonic City, I think the SOE Corporation hasn't given up on the genetic drugs. Maybe they also cooperated with other scientific research institutions in addition to Xiejiqiang. You mean, the people who suddenly attacked us were from the SOE Corporation, Sect Master? Asked Jin Shi. But I can't figure out why they suddenly attacked us. Austin Cole is dead, and so is Xiejiqiang. In the end, we obtained the gene serum, but no one knows. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and sneered. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. Don't forget that there's still the Darkwind organization. This organization has intelligence agents all over the world. We thought that killing Xiejiqiang and getting the gene serum was very secretive, but the Darkwind's intelligence agents might have discovered it. Sect Master, the Darkwind organization really needs to be annihilated. Otherwise, there's always the risk of being exposed. Jin Shi angrily said. The Darkwind must be wiped out, but now is not the time, said Tan Xiu lightly. Our sect's overall combat strength is very strong, but the number of sect disciples is very small. Even killing a group of docile sheep will be very troublesome if there are too many of them. Then let's just kill all the Darkwind's top brass directly, said Jin Shi. Do you know where the Darkwind's HQ is? Tan Xiu shook his head. Do you know who's at the top of the Darkwind organization? Jin Shi was speechless. Tan Xiu took out his phone and dialed Song Guanghui's number. The one with the most power in Saipan had died, and Song Guanghui had become the acting supreme officer of Saipan. Tang Xiu learned from Song Guanghui that he would soon become the highest-ranking officer in Saipan, even though he hadn't removed his acting title yet. There's something I need your help with, Uncle Song. Song Guanghui chuckled and said, I'm really happy that you can ask me for help. Tell me, what's the matter? My men were attacked in Saipan in the last 2 days and fled back in panic, said Tan Xiu. They don't know the origin of the attackers, but they are sure that they should be genetic warriors. That's why I'm guessing that they have something to do with SOE. Have you heard of this company, Uncle Song? So. Song Guanghui's voice suddenly rose. Do you know about it, Uncle Song? Asked Tan Xiu. Song Guanghui was silent for half a minute before he slowly said, I know about it. It's more than that. I know this company very well, and I even planted some people in it. Tan Xiu, if it's really this SOE's people who attacked your men, I'm afraid we need to tell you something in detail. Is it related to what happened in the past? Tan Xiu's mind moved and he asked. That's right, said Song Guanghui. It's another company that caused us to suffer miserably. That company and this SOE company are both controlled by the same family. It's called House Dolan. How come I've never heard of this family? Tan Xiu frowned. Some families in this world are well known, but there are also some families that hide in the dark and control a lot of wealth and power, said Song Guanghui. House Dolan is a family that hides in the dark and manipulates some businesses. We haven't found this family's land so far, but we've secretly investigated some forces controlled by this family. If the people who attacked my men are really from this SOE company, Uncle Song, I'm afraid this House Dolan is much more powerful than we imagined, said Tan Xiu. Those genetic warriors are very strong and even my powerful men were seriously injured by them. You want me to help you find out the identity of the people who attacked you and confirm if they're from this SOE company, right? Asked Song Guanghui. That's right, answered Tan Xiu. I'll arrange it right away. Just wait for my news with a peace of mind, said Song Guanghui. Uncle Song, you must not act rashly once you find out that the SOE company's people are in Saipan, said Tan Xiu. Notify me and I'll rush there immediately. Don't worry. Your men are no match for them, so I naturally won't smash an egg against a rock, said Song Guanghui. Tan Xiu felt relieved after hearing it. After hanging up the phone, he thought for a while and decided to rush to Saipan at once. Regardless of whether the people who attacked Jin Shi were from the SOE company or not, those who dared to be enemies with the Tang sect must pay a huge price. Of course, if they were from the SOE company, then it would be a new and old enmity added together, and he would have to settle the score with them. This time, Tan Xiu didn't bring many people with him, but all of them were elites of the Tang sect. Not only did he bring Tang Guang and Tangan, but he also brought Mo, Hao Lei, Kawako Yamamoto, and Tang 28. Half a day later, a group of 7 people appeared at the port of Saipan. Tom Reggie, who had received the news in advance, personally came to pick them up. On the SUVs heading to the Lao Bay Resort, Tan Xiu leaned back on the seat with a thoughtful look in his eyes and asked, "Has Uncle Song's official appointment been issued yet?" "It was issued 2 days ago," said Tom Reggie. "He's now the highest-ranking officer in Saipan. His men have all been cleaned up and there won't be any impact left." Tang Xiu slowly nodded and said, "You can put down whatever you're doing after you're done with this issue. There are some things you need to do, though." "What do you want me to do, boss?" asked Tom Reggie hurriedly. "Do you still remember Spectre and the others?" asked Tan Xiu. "Those people I rescued from prison?" "I do." Tom Reggie nodded. "I need you to mingle with them and observe their situation," said Tan Xiu. "Pick some reliable people in secret and form a temporary organization. The number doesn't need to be too many. 50 people should be enough." "What kind of organization, boss?" asked Tom Reggie. "What kind of organization will it be mainly responsible for? All of you are experts who have gone through fire and water on the battlefield. You have rich combat experience and killing skills," said Tan Xiu. "It's time for some of the children I've trained to see blood. Hence, your task is to lead these children and form small teams. You're to go wherever there's a war in the world." "I'll follow your arrangement, boss." Tom Reggie nodded. "But you don't have to worry about this matter," said Tan Xiu. "I'll give you special training and teach you some cultivation techniques to further enhance your strength. This way, you can guarantee that you'll be able to live longer on the battlefield." "Thank you, boss. I'll do my best to complete this task," said Tom Reggie excitedly. At noon, Tan Xiu saw Song Guanghui, who had secretly rushed to the Lao Bay Resort. Song Guanghui didn't bring anyone with him this time, only a few of his confidants. Inside the villa, just as the 2 men sat face to face, Song Guanghui spoke, "I'm afraid the investigation won't be easy, Tan Xiu. There are a lot of strangers in Saipan now. Those people belong to various forces, and there are no lack of powerful characters among them." "Which of the top 3 organizations are still in Saipan?" asked Tan Xiu. "The Stygian Club," answered Song Guanghui. Tan Xiu furrowed his brows and sneered. "I've killed a lot of people from the Stygian Club, but I didn't expect that they still haven't given up. As a matter of fact, I've been wanting to clean up this organization for a long time, but I just felt that the time wasn't ripe yet. However, since they still have people here, I'll get rid of them." "Don't take it lightly," said Song Guanghui hurriedly. "According to the people I sent to investigate, there are a lot of members of the Stygian Club in Jingmen Island, nearly 100 of them. Some of them are erratic, appearing and disappearing mysteriously from time to time. It's not easy to deal with them. Besides, you'll be easily discovered by other forces once you bring your men to deal with the Stygian Club's people." "Don't worry, Uncle Song," said Tan Xiu. "I won't act easily if there's no good opportunity. The most important thing now is to investigate whether there are any SOE people in Jingmen Island. If there are, we'll collect some interest from them. I'll send my men to investigate as much as I can." Song Guanghui forced a smile. "Also, tell Tom Reggie to investigate this matter. Some places that are difficult for my men to investigate can be easily investigated by his men. However, Tom Reggie has a rival in Saipan. If possible, you'd better help him completely control the underground forces in Saipan." Chapter 1060. Tan Xiu was well aware of Tom Reggie's situation in Saipan. Originally, the force under his control wasn't very big. It wasn't even in the top 3 among the underground forces in Saipan. It was only after Song Guanghui took the power recently that Tom Reggie seized the opportunity to annex several small forces and grew a lot stronger. 3 days. Tan Xiu raised 3 fingers and said, "Tom Reggie will become the leader of Saipan's underground forces in 3 days at most." Those who submit to me will prosper, while those who oppose me will perish. Uncle Song, you've become the most powerful official in Saipan, so the underground forces must be controlled by our people. Song Guanghui was shaken inwardly and hesitantly said, I don't doubt your strength, Tan Xiu. It's just that 3 days is too short, no? The 3 strongest underground forces in Saipan are inextricably linked with some underground forces in other countries, especially the Raven Gale. I heard that they have a deep relationship with the Stygian Club. Or rather, the Raven Gale is very likely one of the Stygian Club's branches. The Raven Gale? Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and smilingly said, Uncle Song, even if the Raven Gale is the Stygian Club's headquarters, I can completely destroy it if I want to and pay some price. Don't worry. I never fight a battle unprepared. I'll investigate the Raven Gale's strength before I act. Song Guanghui nodded silently and said, the Golden Cauldron organization and the speeder won't pose much of a threat as long as the Raven Gale is eliminated. The one you must pay attention to is the speeder's boss, Jameson. This guy is ruthless and powerful. Rumors have it that he has a close relationship with many drug lords and arms dealers. I heard some things about the speeder from O. Tan Xiu nodded. No one is to be feared in the face of absolute power. Song Guanghui recalled Tan Xiu's identity and immediately stopped talking about this topic. He chatted with Tan Xiu about something else and then quietly left the Lao Bay resort. Late at night, Tan Xiu received a call from Tom Reggie and got 2 important news. The speeder's HQ was currently besieged by a large number of experts from the Raven Gale and was now in a bitter struggle. A group of mysterious people from other countries had arrived at the Golden Cauldron organization half an hour ago. An undercurrent is surging. When Tan Xiu hung up the phone and appeared outside the gate of the villa, a few figures silently appeared behind Tan Xiu. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. If my guess is correct, tonight is the day of harvest. Get ready. Cooperate with Tom Reggie's men and stir up the waters of Saipan's underground forces. There's no need to go through so much trouble, Grand Master, said Tang Guang smilingly. Let's just destroy the other underground forces in Saipan. Tan Xiu glanced at him and lightly said, it's good to have confidence, but never underestimate anyone. None of us know the close relationship between the underground forces in Saipan and some huge organizations in other countries, nor do we know how powerful the enemy we're about to face is. So, before you do anything, you have to be clear about the enemy's strength. You can't be precise, but you have to have a rough idea. The smile on Tang Guang's face froze. After a while, he said with a bit of shame, I was too careless, Grand Master. You're still young, and some of your thoughts and styles are still immature, said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. You'll be able to see through many problems after you gain more experience in the future. Young? Tang Guang looked at Tan Xiu with a strange expression. Even Mo and the others had a strange expression on their faces. Seeing that Tan Xiu looked like he was in his early 20s, they couldn't help but mutter inwardly. Creak, 4 black SUVs stopped in front of the villa. As the doors of the 4 cars opened, the driver of the SUV in the front strode to Tan Xiu and respectfully said, Mr. Tang, the boss told us to pick you up. Get there as fast as you can, said Tan Xiu. Understood. As everyone got on the car, the 4 black SUVs quickly left the Lao Bay resort. In a hotel building a few hundred meters away from them, a bald man received a report from his subordinate and immediately left with 4 strong men. Not long after the 4 black SUVs left the Lao Bay resort's gate, several Hummer SUVs roared and chased after them. Speed up. In one of the Hummers, the bald man licked his lips and ordered in a deep voice with a chilling glint in his eyes. The strong man driving the Hummer stepped on the accelerator and asked, Are you sure those people in the front are heading to the speeder's HQ, boss? Recently, Tom Reggie's movements had been very big, and he had already eliminated several forces. Could it be that he really dares to take advantage of the losses we've suffered after besieging the speeder to attack us? Tom Reggie is an ambitious man, sneered the bald man. He betrayed his former boss and recently hooked up with that man in power. There's nothing a man like him can't do. We just need to keep an eye on him. As long as those cars are heading toward the speeder's HQ, we can report to the big boss once they arrive near the Baimusen building. A few minutes later. The speed of the 4 SUVs gradually slowed down. On the one hand, the traffic ahead was a bit congested, and on the other hand, there was someone tailing them. Grand Master, it's about 90 meters ahead. Tang Guang, who used to be good at using a sniper rifle, observed the cars behind and reported in a low voice. A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth. He took out 3 silver needles from his interspatial ring and used his mental power to control them to pass through the gap in the window and quickly shot the Hummer SUVs behind them. Bam, bam, bam. The 3 silver needles accurately hit the front wheels of the 3 Hummer SUVs. The tires burst and the 3 cars crashed to the roadside. At this moment, Tang Guang and Mo Au jumped out of the car and flashed like shadows. Without being seen by anyone, they dashed toward the scene of the accident behind them. Stop the car on the roadside ahead. After saying that, Tan Xiu slowly closed his eyes. Nowadays, crooks and honest folk were mixed together in Saipan, and undercurrents were surging. He couldn't determine which force the people tailing them belonged to, but he was very satisfied with the situation in this chaotic place. Only in the chaos could he take advantage of the situation and reap benefits to achieve his goal. At the rear, Tang Guang and Mo Au appeared next to the 3 Hummers lightning fast and bombarded the heads of the people who came out of the cars with their fists, directly knocking them out. With the cover of the 3 cars, Tang Guang reached out and grabbed the neck of a burly man and quickly disappeared nearby. In a remote place nearby, Mo Au slapped the burly man's face. As he slowly woke up, a dagger was placed on his neck. With a murderous look on his face, Mo Au asked, "Tell me, which force do you belong to? Why are you tailing us?" The dizzy burly man raised his head and suddenly felt a chill on his neck. When he saw Mo Au's murderous eyes, his whole body instantly turned cold and intense fear filled his heart. Such a look could only be seen by a real ruthless character who had killed people. He himself had also killed people and had contact with countless outlaws, so he was no stranger to it. At this moment, he seemed to feel the greeting of the Grim Reaper. Although he used to think that he wasn't afraid of death, he was still afraid now that he was in a desperate situation. His lips squirmed a few times and he said, "Ravengale. The Ravengale should be attacking the speeder's HQ now, so why are you tailing us?" Asked Mo Au again. "Don't tell me you also want to get rid of Tom Reggie after getting rid of the speeder? You're not Tom Reggie's men." The burly man stared blankly and was surprised. "Nope," sneered Mo Au. "We seem to have made a mistake," said the burly man helplessly. "We're tailing Tom Reggie's car and we don't know who's in it. As a matter of fact, our Ravengale doesn't want to get rid of Tom Reggie since he has a very close relationship with that big shot in Jingmen Island. Our big boss is just worried that Tom Reggie will bring his men to make trouble while we're attacking the speeder." Mo Au nodded and knocked him out with a punch. Then, he quickly returned to the car with Tang Guang and reported the situation to Tan Xiu. Then, he said, "We didn't kill them. We just knocked them out. They're just small fries, so we just knocked them out." Tan Xiu nodded. "Let's go. Let's hurry to the speeder's HQ. I want to see how much the Ravengale will pay to annihilate the speeder." 20 minutes later. Tan Xiu met Tom Reggie in a building near the speeder's HQ. At the moment, Tom Reggie's expression was very interesting as he reported, "The speeder has heavy weapons. Even though the Ravengale's men are very strong, with several snipers and assaulters among them, all of whom are top-notch. Coupled with the strong attacks from some non-human powerhouses, they still couldn't break the speeder's last line of defense. Boss, the speeder has some very powerful people. They're simply non-human." Tan Xiu took the binoculars handed to him and walked to the window to observe while asking, "What kind of non-human beings can shock you?" "They're just like Superman." Tom Reggie forced a wry smile and said, "I saw a sniper bullet hit a guy's heart with my own eyes, yet he was only injured and wasn't killed directly." He even directly counterattacked and killed several experts of the Raven Gale. Superman. Tan Xiao observed through the binoculars and quickly found figures constantly flashing in the speeder's last line of defense. They were using firearms to counterattack and even cold weapons to kill the enemy. Genetic warriors. Tan Xiao immediately recognized these people after a few glances. It was because they were very strong. Some of them were genetic warriors with hairy bodies that looked like humanoid beasts. Tom Reggie, what are their respective losses? Asked Tan Xiao while observing.